2023. The time is 3:05. We're going to go ahead and start with our pledge of allegiance. Please stand if you are able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For our clerk, currently we have Commissioner Burton, Commissioner DeVito, Commissioner Lori, myself, Charles Rudd, our city manager, that are present. Commissioner Banks has an excused absence. He might be joining us by phone if he is able to.
By phone, he's not on yet.
Okay. And with that, I guess we can go ahead. Charles, do you want to, public comment? If anyone in the audience would like to come forward and speak, please step forward, state your name and your address. You have 3 minutes.
Man, he's right up here.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that I open it up for public comment. Okay. With that, seeing no one come forward, I will close public comment at this time.
Mayor, we're gonna need to skip to the personnel manual while we figure out what to have to our consultant.
Is Sheila or Sarah?
Mark Corrett is looking at, she wrote down or wasn't able to communicate, or there was a miscommunication.
Did you want, was Sheila or Dale going, there's Dale, okay. Okay.
Did Sheila want to join us for this part?
We're a little early.
Yeah, we're doing the
The
personnel.
personnel manual.
Doing the personnel first?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. She said she'd come over about 4, but I will get her now. Unless you want me to talk.
While we're waiting on Sheila to come, just a couple of things. I know we go ahead and make a few announcements. Remember this, the year is closing out. If you haven't done your ethics training, please make sure that you do it. And when you do, make sure that Karen is notified in writing. If you do the one that is just the one that they have reoccurring, it's my understanding, you have to just send a notification. Otherwise, they'll send you notification if you do the one that is the interactive one.
Karen, did you open an answer? I did not.
There's also, Karen just sent an email to you today. Form 6 is the new disclosure form. Evidently some elected officials are finding it objectionable, so please take a look at that and make sure you fill it out.
You really almost need, and this is the problem always with this form. I know when I was in Tallahassee with this form, the legislators having to fill this out. I mean, you almost really need an accountant.
Yes, they've added a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's more,
Put in there.
And they've got, yeah, it's
It's actually too much.
very extensive.
And it has to be all electronically, right?
Yes.
I also want to take this opportunity to ask you all about the old motel sign on the north end of town. Just says motel and the top part's empty. Is that an iconic sign, a nostalgic sign, a historic sign in the community worth saving? That's
Is it?
sign frame.
And
Sheree says it may be from the
Tangerine,
50s.
no tangerine sign.
Old tangerine.
I mean,
Tangerine.
Yeah.
I mean, we're qualified as.
They want to reuse it, and our code is too tall and too much square footage per our code unless we find it to be historic or significant value
I mean, it
to the
can
community.
we qualify as historic, because I mean, Kendrick Home was built in the 30s or 40s.
And they've asked if they could use
They've asked if they could take it out, a wooden one, in fact, it fell over recently. They're gonna remove that, the one that said Little Sicily on it. But they would like to refurbish and reuse the existing sign.
Well, I think I'm the oldest person here who remembers that sign when it was the Tambourine Cove Motel. That is how I knew I was coming to Crescent City, when I was about 6, which is a long, long time ago. Do we need to have this on, I mean, essentially they.
We're gonna have to
variance.
vote on it, they'll have to,
Yeah.
they'll have to be a vote on it of some sort,
Well,
right?
it wouldn't be a variance, because that requires a hardship.
But it's a something. I mean, don't we have to take some?
Be a board of special use, would it be kind of more
I'll
of a
have
special
to
use?
come back with that, but for now, I just wanted to see if all of you were like, no, I'll get rid of it.
No,
Are you gonna leave it there?
They want to reuse it, take motel words off and put
Clean it up.
clean it
walk side restaurant, whatever it's gonna be there.
Okay, so basically,
Refurbish it, paint it.
you're gonna be taking the old sign off then if you wanna keep it.
The word motel will come off, and they'll reuse the shape and the frame, they'll repaint it and probably have to rewire it, I would imagine. And they asked, and the strict interpretation of our code would be, it should have come down 6 months after the use discontinued, or after the code was adopted, so.
Something for us to think about as we go forward, and you can do a little.
So basically though, we're changing the whole sign into a new sign.
Right, yeah.
The face of it,
Basically.
yeah,
So I mean, just the structure or the frame of it would be staying the same with that.
yeah, just the word motel, that plastic.
Yeah, I think we actually, what would, that'd be what would be considered the historic part of it, not the frame. You know, that's the sign itself.
Well, the shape of it's kind of retro,
Yeah, we might have to look at that. And I think it's finally something that would really deal with that.
I just want to get a sense of it.
Yeah,
Sounds like it might be, it's worth looking into.
yeah, right.
Once you change the whole
Yeah, if you change,
sign,
yeah.
If you're gonna keep the design, you're gonna keep the shape of it, that's,
Yeah, they do the same shape, same height.
let's see so we also see what they want, what their proposal is.
Yeah.
Well, yes, ma'am.
if I could, one, I think it would be interesting to take some public comment on this, and certainly we can ask, the Fruitland Peninsula Historical Society to like poll the members, a lot of whom have been here for a long time, but for me, I think both the words motel and the sign are worthy of reuse, because there might be something that could be done with the lettering as well. I think the whole thing is worthy of further investigation. And I think it's very nice that they haven't pitched it.
I think it should be reused, it's just,
I don't know the motel, since it's a restaurant, I don't know a motel, but maybe they can,
There's gonna be cottages there, I think, eventually.
they could do something with that.
Or somebody else.
Also, Willaca, has their Christmas parade this weekend at noon, and I don't know if the commission as a whole is interested in, doing something, being on the back of somebody's truck, I know that's, I don't know, I know you can't, or a flatbed, they could get you up on the flatbed, huh?
You guys were in a boat last year, right?
They do the boat parade in the evening, but they do their regular parade at 12 noon. Commissioner Burton and I did that, I think our first year in office, we were the ones that showed up, and we did it in a boat.
Maybe we should have a boat.
Did you use our boat, the rescue boat?
No, we used her boat,
Oh, her boat.
we used her boat.
Years ago, we used to use the rescue boat, and we would ride and capture festival and everything like that. But I couldn't get in that boat.
I didn't think about that, could have saved the gingerbread house float.
Yeah,
Too late now.
so,
Could have reused the gingerbread for the
Willaca.
And it fell apart,
Yeah.
it fell apart.
So, I mean, if you are interested, if you would just, I guess, let us know,
I was just
by
gonna say,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
if it makes you feel better, any ginger house that I've ever built is always falling apart.
Mine too,
This one wasn't
To make you
edible
feel a
though.
little.
Yeah.
This
Usually,
one wasn't edible.
usually the transport home did it in.
Yeah, that's usually, that's how it works.
Okay, with that, I think, let's go ahead and let's get this going.
Mayor, what you've got before you, commission you have is the, rather than use our existing personnel manual and underline and strike through and this huge document with multiple appendices, Dale has brought forth, just a brand new personnel manual, for your consideration for our use. And you can see it's very well organized and streamlined. And, be happy to go through it or answer any specific questions you may have. I apologize for stacking the two together and not putting separation. It's at the back, the old one was in the front.
I got about halfway through the old one, and I'm like,
I
The old
spent several hours
Yeah,
through the
exactly.
old one, and I was like, oh, wow. Well, it needed some corrections too. The first page, I will say that, and as we go through it, this is something that I always go back and forth with, is when we're referring to city as the city of Crescent City, I always like to see it capitalized.
Yes, yeah, there's
There's a couple of them.
multiple, all the way through. I think if you just do a search and replace and.
The word city?
City,
Yeah.
because it goes back and forth, sometimes it's capitalized and not, and sometimes it's not, so I would prefer it to be capitalized.
I would say.
Well, and
I mean, it should be, because it's referring to the proper noun.
so, Mayor, just on general technicalities, I have a comment.
Okay.
I think this needs a thorough reread and spell check, because there are some sections here where there's either incomplete sentences or, they don't quite say what they're intended to say, mainly because of incomplete sentences or missing words. I think it needs a thorough spell check. And you may be planning on this anyway. And I noticed whatever the chapter is on separation, Article 7, there's a place in there, a big heading where separation is spelled incorrectly, but I just think it needs a good spell check and a reread. But that's just in general, and I have some very specific comments, but that's just along the lines of style.
And I think also, Charles, I know you're looking to have this, an attorney go through this and just check it, just for.
That was my other question.
We did. She was not able to do it herself. Susan Early was gonna refer me. I followed up with her today, and she introduced me via email to a city attorney for another city that may be able to help us. Her and I have to yet correspond, and I need to see what it would cost for them to do a review.
Okay, so before we do this in final, approve it in final.
Yeah, this isn't ready to come to the commission. I need to start flushing it.
Okay, so Commissioners, where would you, like to start?
I have one comment
Okay, go ahead.
in section 1.07, city governance. It says the city of Crescent City operates under the commission manager form of government. It's actually called the council manager form of government. Even though we're a commission, it's interchangeable with council, but the commissioner manager form of government is a little different. It's when each one of the commissioners runs a different department of the city. There's only 2 cities in Florida that do that. So it actually is just, we've changed to under the council council manager form of government.
Okay, let's go back to,
What was that, BJ?
Page
that
six.
was page 7, I mean,
6.
1.07, city governance. Prior to that, does anybody have any comments? I have about changing from to 32 hours per week for full-time employees.
Where's that?
It's in 1.05. And it says scheduled to work 32 hours per week or more. So is that what we're saying, that you're entitled to benefits if you work 32 hours?
That's what it is now. That's why I get Pam below that, so she remains part-time.
So, well, along those lines, Mayor, can I ask then, where it says part-time, because that says up to 32 hours a week, is that stated correctly?
I would think up to, because 32 and over, so up to.
Yeah, up to.
Yeah, once you hit 32, you're,
But I guess,
31.9
Yeah.
is part-time. So that's up to 32, and then 32 and over.
I don't know, it looks like it just, the 32 seems a little ambiguous.
If you work 32 hours a week or more, you're full-time. If you work up to 32, so you're
All
not
right,
32, but almost 32.
okay.
Copy of this somewhere.
oh, it's in, you didn't, it was the last, we had a workshop on this, and we never got to it. Do you need another copy?
Here, she can.
Let me just borrow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't think to bring it. Yeah, I asked if anybody needed it, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I go back to find it in there.
Okay, sorry about that.
Commissioner DeVito?
Yes, on the very first page where it's the welcome message, the letter from the city manager. First of all, I want to say this is a huge improvement over the letter for the prior packet, which was extremely unfriendly and almost hostile.
Yeah.
I remember looking at the letter and just thinking, oh my goodness. But I have a question about this in the fourth paragraph, the second line in. Where it says the manual is not intended to state all the conditions for employment for this, with the city. That I'm not sure what I make of that or what the employees would make of that. What are the complete conditions for employment? Where do they find those?
Go ahead.
Well, I would imagine, in the individual job descriptions would be potentially additional things that may not be spelled out in here, someone's, job duties.
And I
Performing those
guess
duties.
state and federal law that may apply, it just, to me, for me and as an employee, I find that just a little bit vague.
I think then as this goes through legal review, Charles, that would be a question I would ask, because I can see it, I do see it from a different perspective. You always, and I worked in HR for a little while years ago, you always run into a situation that just is new or is not covered in here, and to me, that kind of allows that situation to be looked at. And somebody say, well, if it's not in this manual, then it's,
You can't make me do it.
you can't make them do it, this can't happen, so maybe from a legal review, Commissioner DeVito, do you think so? Have them, if there's language in here that needs to state that, because that's probably, that might have been the intent of that language.
But I understand the point of it, that there are going to be,
Other duties as assigned.
well, not so much other duties, but there's your position description, there could be federal law, there could be state law. I just think this needs to be said in a little bit different way. I think it has the majority of the conditions for employment. But, you don't, you want to give people some certainty, and yes, Mayor, I agree with you. I think this language, maybe, the legal review, if they could find maybe a little bit different way to say it, to tweak it.
Okay.
And then also, this is just overall, I don't see anything, much in here that would refer to the state, code of ethics requirements. Because there's a section in chapter 112 that speaks to public employees. You can't use inside information to your benefit. There's just,
So do you have something like that, you have anything proposed that you would like to add?
no, that's not my job, but
Well,
I'm saying,
this kind of is our job right now, they've given us their example, and they're asking us to look at it and see if there's language we want to add to it,
okay,
to our change.
I don't think it's our job to craft language. I'm saying there's two things that I'm not sure are adequately reflected in here, and that's our charter requirements, and also any provisions, in chapter 112 that perhaps should be included, and I don't think we're the ones to include them.
Okay, so when it goes to legal review, how they want to put in there something referring to the state code of ethics requirements.
Might be added under the conduct or.
Yeah.
Right, and then,
Potentially some of it, but yeah, it doesn't.
right, because there are several requirements, for state employees, and as well, I don't see anything touching on social media policy or communications with the press.
I have that in mind. I think as we get down into it, as we get further down into it, that will be something for some discussion.
But there's no heading on any.
Well, I know there's not, and that's what I'm saying, but there's an area down in here that I think when we get to it, is somewhere where it would definitely, where it fits in.
That same conduct,
I mean, to me, I don't think it's really our job to write a manual, but, anyway.
And I'm not, nobody's asking us to write the whole manual. Okay, they're asking us to review this and see if we have any concerns.
Yes.
And if we have some concerns, some suggestions to them that we can suggest. Isn't that correct? Isn't that what you're asking us for today?
Yes, such as adding social media policy or
and dealing with the press or
Yes,
media policy.
media.
computer. So, I mean, we can go through this if you want to, I think so, just so that we're not getting kind of off things. Charles, do you have a recommendation, how you'd like for us to go through it?
Well, you could, like we did the code, ask, just flip the pages, and somebody, speak up, chime in when you got an issue on that page.
Okay, so right now, I think that we've gone through that, we go to page 5. We can always come back to the index, if we've added something to it. So if we go to page 5, does anybody have any comments on that? Okay, seeing none, let's go to page 6. We've already addressed those of Commissioner Lori's. And we talked about the 32 hours and up to 32 hours. Making sure that when it gets legal review, that up to, he still keeps us under 32 hours, correct, Commissioner DeVito? Is that what you?
Yes, as long as that's clear, and again, this is gonna have legal review, so if they think it's clear, then that's fine.
Okay, and we'll go to page, if anybody has anything else on that page?
I do. Okay, on 1.06, coverage on page 6. That says the provisions of these policies and procedures are applicable to all city employees with the following exception. Says the mayor and members of the city commission. Technically, we're not employees, but I have 2 concerns about this, and then it lists the city manager, volunteers of the cities, persons retained on a contractual fee for service or retainer basis, members of boards and commissions. There are, well, for the city manager, I'm not really sure why the city manager would be accepted. To me, it would seem more appropriate to say accepted, to say that the city manager is covered by these policies, because he's clearly mentioned in here, except where his contract provides.
1.06, 1.06.
Right, so it seems to me like this should apply to the city manager, except where his contract provides otherwise, or has different provisions, where his contract differs. And the reason I say that, and there may be other provisions, he's certainly mentioned in here many times. There are some specific areas. One is Article 2, which has to do with harassment, disability, and sexual harassment, disability, and discrimination. And then Article 5 on standards of conduct, which deals with issues of courtesy, basic courtesy and our responsibility, or the employee's responsibility to the public. So it seems to me that everything should apply to the city manager, except where his contract differs. And then I would think, because certainly you wouldn't be exempting the city manager from the requirements for ADA and harassment and discrimination, or acceptable standards of conduct. And as well, I think that the whole commission and volunteers and boards should be subject to the standards of conduct, just that different procedures for addressing failure to meet the standards of conduct would have to apply, since they don't work for the city manager. So that's my concern about that.
Okay. Do you have any other concerns on this page?
Is there any other feeling of striking any of that stuff?
Commissioner Warren?
I'd rather be rewritten as mayor and city commissioners, members of the city commission, sorry. And I can see Commissioner DeVito's point about the city manager being, be applicable to him. I mean, your contract doesn't have provisions for conduct and all those kind of things in there, correct?
No, it's not.
And,
Well,
because if you're exempt from like sexual harassment policy, all these other, discrimination, then you could just basically do anything you wanted to do. Not that I'm saying that you would, but it needs to be standardized for everybody. So I mean, I can see anything that would be in conflict with your, like you said, with this contract.
Well, we want to exempt
Yeah,
the commission and the mayor and the volunteers from those same provisions.
yes. Well, I mean, because we're not employees, well, we are, but like,
We're elected officials.
Right.
We're different. Makes it a different.
But to Commissioner DeVito's point, should you be exempt from sexual harassment policy?
no, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, and to me, this is a question probably for whatever attorney is going to review this, is how do we make sure that anyone, and I think I put in my notes, who's connected with the city, that the public and employees are protected from prohibited behaviors. Because ultimately, it's my understanding from being in the work world, that employers are responsible for conduct. Like, for example, say if our city attorney goes off the deep end and starts being belligerent with the public, which is, the last thing I would expect, or any contractor, or the planning. We have quite a few contractors, the planning people. We're responsible, as I understand it, from being in the work world, we're responsible for their, the way they treat people in terms of the Americans for Disabilities Act, sexual and other forms of discrimination, and obviously we want people treated with courtesy.
Are you
So-
saying that we're responsible for their whole company's attitude towards all of that, or just that one individual?
No, it's my understanding, just generally,
I
if
think you
we,
just gotta be careful with what you're saying here. I mean, you
Okay.
can bring this make this really hard.
no, I'm not making
Add
it,
to Crescent City employment.
okay, I'm not making it hard, and I don't think it necessarily belongs in this specific manual, but it is an issue. It is my understanding, and I'm sure that Bobby can speak to this. If we have someone who is our contractor, who deals with the public, and they don't do the right thing, then we have to fix it. There has to be a way for someone to complain, and if we don't fix it, then it's my understanding we're responsible.
To move this forward, so when we do it through a legal review, just to make sure we have language in there so that our code of conduct and anybody working under the auspice of the city of Crescent City, they conduct themselves accordingly, to make sure that that's in there. Is that good?
Yes, that's,
Okay. Anything else on that page? We can-
oh, I do have one more question on this page. There's a reference in, 1.07, city governance, to our personnel policies, rules, regulations, and classification and pay plan. Do we currently have a classification and pay plan?
We do in the study that was done. It has the pay classifications and the pay ranges.
Okay, so we adopted that.
Yes.
We did, okay. Because certainly for that came about, I never saw one.
Okay. Yeah, and in the back, I mean, it even has like the organizational chart, it has the position descriptions in there, and so all of that's in that.
No, I know, that's a little bit different from classification and pay. I didn't see one when I first got here, so, okay,
Can
thank
you
you.
get on that one, so we can move on to page 7? Yes, okay.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
on the 2.01, the last paragraph or the last sentence, it lists, the protected classes like sexual orientation, age, national origin, disability, military veteran status, marital status, political affiliation, and then it's strictly prohibited. There needs to be an or put in there after marital status or political affiliation. I think it was just, you cut and paste from before and then it was added, or not. Because up there it said, or any other characteristic protected by law, and so that one needs to be put in there.
And, and going back to, as you're going through this, Charles, I mean, I just know the state has different levels. So senior management is always under a different umbrella than selected exempt or, so maybe that's something that we have a separate personnel manual or a separate addendum that reflects to the city commission, reflects to the city manager, those type of boards. So just as you go through that, just remember, just think of that.
Anything else for page 7?
203, and this is something you might want to do throughout, is rather than his, her, you might want to put their,
There, yeah, or they.
or they, anywhere that is, but rather than a his, her, that they or their.
It was just like when we were doing LDCs, it would say his, her designee, this, and we just put there, I think, or we put or designee.
You'll see that again
Yeah,
throughout,
yeah.
you'll see that again throughout,
Yeah, his,
so.
her, or his, she, he, she.
Page 8. Anything on page 8?
I don't know, let's see, contact city attorney. Under 2.04 on page 8, discrimination, harassment, complaint, procedure. I don't know, I think the first paragraph is fine. And this also ties into, further back under standards of conduct, I think. I think it needs to be stated clearly. The second paragraph says if the employee does not feel comfortable reporting harassment, discrimination to their supervisor or city manager, the employee may contact the city attorney. I think it needs to be very clear that if the supervisor is the person, that they're complaining of, if they're the one they're complaining of, then be very specific about who they can go to, the next supervisor up, or in the case of the city manager, to the city attorney. I think it should be stated very affirmatively.
Okay, now I have a question. If, because you work for the commission, what if somebody has a complaint about a commissioner, where do they bring that? Besides.
Social media?
Yeah, besides.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Outside voice.
I'm sorry, it's my outside voice.
I think it brings me with the city attorney.
Yeah. The city attorney really should be kind of the,
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
because we,
yeah.
Well, it says they may contact the city attorney, and I think it needs to be affirmatively stated, and I think probably the legal review will go over this in detail, and they will probably have a suggestion for us, but it's my understanding that you have to have a clear point of contact, and so that people don't guess or feel unsure. So, probably legal review will take care of this, but, that's something I think needs to be very affirmatively stated. That if your supervisor is the one who is causing the problem, then you need to have a specific alternative to go to.
And even if you should change may contact to should contact the city attorney, that will almost because may is voluntary, should is.
I circled that and made a note to ask legal.
Yeah, and I think in the past too, if somebody had a complaint about us and something that we had done, oftentimes they do go to the attorney, or they go to Charles and the attorney, or they go to Charles and then Charles goes to the attorney,
Right.
or city attorney.
Well,
So we just need to make sure that's spelled out.
right, and that was my point earlier, that saying the commission is not exempt from the rules of harassment
Okay.
or discrimination. So people need someone to report
So
to.
we're done on page 8. We're moving on to page 9.
I just had a question about the veterans preference part. I'm just not familiar with that. And I was reading through it and it just was confusing to me. In the way it was Malone was saying here, such preference does not preclude the firing outside, or in parentheses, outside hire of a non-veteran. Okay, yeah, I was like, I didn't understand that at all. So maybe it was a.
Does Dale have any explanation on that one?
Okay, follow where we are.
Yep, such preference, talk about veterans, and the state and the national wants us to hire veterans, and it doesn't preclude us from firing them for a qualified more than a veteran. I think it's very clear, but we can.
So that's what you're saying is such preference, so because they have veterans preference, you're saying that does not mean that they have veterans preference in us not firing them, is that?
True.
And also in hiring, that's it.
Yeah, and outside hire.
Should it say outside, rather say, or hiring
I
of a
mean,
non-veteran?
basically says it's not included firing outside hire of a non-veteran. who is
Yeah.
more qualified than a veteran. However, in the case of a promotion, a veteran who possesses the minimum qualifications of the position shall be promoted. I know that we kind of do that, but,
Should that be hiring instead of firing? Maybe it's a typo.
Yeah, right, well, that's what I said, some of these paragraphs do not seem to say what they're
Such preference does
intended to
not
say.
preclude the hiring of a non-veteran who is more qualified than a veteran. However, if promotion of veteran possesses minimum qualifications, should be promoted.
That would make more
If you
sense.
read it that way, that
Yeah.
makes sense,
Yeah.
that means you don't have to hire them if there is someone that's more qualified, however,
In a promotion
in a
situation.
promotion's different, that would make more sense.
Well, yeah, I think 2.06 needs a little clarification.
Okay, so, anything else on page 9?
This is just a small point, but somehow in here where it says position vacancy announcements, the first paragraph says that job vacancies will be posted on an information board at City Hall and Public Works and any other appropriate location for city employees. I think somewhere in there, it should say that the city will let the employees know, where those boards are. I think in all fairness, it shouldn't be like a revolving,
Yeah, but at the same time,
I don't know.
if you haven't seen that board, I mean, if they put it like right where it is, I mean, the office is so small.
No, I know, I'm just saying for the future, it should be, any other appropriate location, that will be made known to the city employees. So I think in fairness to the employees, it would be helpful to say that they will know where the information board is.
I think most of them do, don't they?
Well, that's
Yeah, it is.
that's what I
She
think.
lets me know.
But a future city manager could check.
Yeah,
It just says they will put it up, it doesn't say
And
where.
HR person
I
that
mean, this
kind of
is,
manages most of the time.
Yeah, this is just
They know how to find it.
it's just specifying that it'll be up for 7 days, and they'll have a chance to apply for it, and then if not, they go on to the next step. I think that's just really establishing the procedure.
I understand that.
It's an internal thing.
On the next page. Yeah, it says by positing with, local professional associations, I have her down up
There
there.
should be posted.
Yeah, it should be posting.
Which area?
On the top of the next page.
Fourth,
Top of 10.
fourth line down at
Yeah.
the very top, by posting.
Positive, okay.
Do we have anything else on page 10?
No.
Okay, let's move on to page.
What are they changing posting to? They're posting?
Post, it's
Positive.
lodging, it's just
Just the
a
wrong
post.
word.
Just an extra
Typo.
letter in there.
It's supposed to be posted.
Okay, when we go over to page 11. This is where full-time city employees are scheduled to work at least 40 hours. We just established 32 hours to be a full-time employee.
Well, they're scheduled to work at least 40 hours. The other thing I think is to make sure we know that part-timers can't go over 32, over 31.9999 hours.
Okay, but
This is saying that your full-time employees are scheduled at least 40 hours a week.
But that's inconsistent.
that is, because the other one said a full-time employee is considered anybody that works 32 hours or
So
more.
some of them might be scheduled to be worked, but
So at least 32 hours. Then we have a 4 or 5 day work week, and then we want to try 4 10-hour days.
Do we have anything else on this page? And if you did change that, the normal work schedule for public works, et cetera, we'd have to just come back and amend this, correct? If we did go to that 4 days, if we decided to stay open till 6 o'clock,
We wouldn't, those departments wouldn't get changed.
okay,
They have to be.
they would still be here, okay.
and then
Not for administrative staff though, correct?
Well, yeah, the city hall staff could switch, but public works, water, wastewater, and gas utilities.
Okay.
the next line after that, because the city can always maintain the typical 40-hour work week needs to be separated into 2 words. And interestingly, after that, it says in the case of an emergency such as a hurricane or pandemic, that's 2 very great, good examples, but there's more examples of, if we could put IE,
We say such as,
yeah, not just put IE, hurricane, pandemic, it's just, it's funny that those are the 2 that I mentioned, we have never mentioned pandemics before until COVID, but
Yeah.
I would think that tornadoes or other incidences would hopefully be more frequent. Hopefully none of them happen, but
anything else on that?
Well, I have a question about the last paragraph about, breaks for nursing mothers. Is a fridge required if someone is expressing breast milk at work? Do they need a fridge?
we need to provide.
I don't know, we have a fridge in each building.
Right, they're just, do we need to clarify they can use the fridge, they can bring their own fridge? I don't know.
I'm sure you mark it accordingly.
I just want to say that there's a refrigerator facilities available.
I don't know.
It's just whether or not it's a requirement, that would be a legal requirement, whether or not legally we're required to provide refrigeration.
But you have to mention that we have it, so
Yeah,
they
that's
will
just,
feel comfortable about it.
okay, page 12. We have anything on page 12?
I had a question about 4.04 pay periods. Second line says, employees are required to contact their supervisor or the city manager within 5 days if they suspect an error or omission for that particular pay period. Is that the normal amount of time?
Yes, is that normal?
They typically contact.
They're contacted within that day.
Yes.
Within 5.
Within 5 days, they're usually,
Immediately.
Yeah.
It's usually done immediately, trust me.
Yeah,
But the 5 days is,
Okay.
And I think that gives a reasonable time period so that you don't come a month later and like, hey, you didn't pay me, then I'm not,
Anything else on that? Okay, let's go to page 13. Um, I had a question at the top, if an employee works on unauthorized overtime, they will be compensated for time work, however, they may be subject to corrective action. Would that be disciplinary action, or would it just be corrective action? What would that corrective action be? The following week, they would have to, I just didn't know if that should be maybe more disciplinary action, may be subject to. So if you have someone who habitually does that, there will be an occasion they accidentally work over that without supervisor's approval. There's something that happens, at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the evening. But if they habitually do that in order to increase their pay,
You can describe it as disciplinary action for that term.
well, that's,
To me,
Well, I
corrective
guess-
action includes discipline.
I guess what the mayor's asking is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, then to me, it would be helpful, I guess, corrective action, I don't know if that's reflected, if that's explained as reflected in the title of the other chapters, grievance procedures, employees, and first conduct and standards. Yeah, there's a section in Article 5 that says corrective action. I think that means discipline in this personnel manual.
I mean, corrective loss obviously is a more positive term than disciplinary, however, disciplinary oftentimes gets someone's attention.
But I could change it to disciplinary action.
Entry to Marco.
Yeah, I put two, subject to
Yes.
disciplinary.
But that's all throughout here. I mean, the little, little things that need to be corrected.
Okay, anything else on page 13?
Nope, good catch.
Okay, let's move on to page 14.
I have an observation about this page, or request. So this is, conduct and standards, corrective action. Where is it? Oh. It would seem to me that we don't really have an affirmative statement, that says what corrective action says at the very end of this first paragraph. Employees are expected to treat citizens, vendors, and their coworkers with respect, courtesy, tact, and consideration. Somehow it seems to me that needs to go up front. And we don't have an affirmative directive, but at least it should go up front.
Yeah, that would make more sense in the reading.
And then, to follow that with when you don't meet the performance and behavior, meet the city standards. I just think you should say what the standard is first.
Okay.
The reading's all good.
Well, that's kind of the whole thing. We want to be that kind of an institution, I would imagine.
As you come down, the counseling documented, verbal counseling needs to be in uppercase. And then written warning, that needs to be indemnity. That's just minor. Anything else on this page 14? Okay, not page 15.
So we go from a verbal counseling to written warning and then suspension without pay. Is that
Yes.
And then just
the discharge? Okay.
Well, this is interesting, Mayor, is it okay if I say what I was about to say? So 5.02, general rules of conduct. Just something about the way this is worded, the very first paragraph under 5.02. Again, at the end, says, in addition to these listed rules, employees should always remember to exercise good judgment and common sense in conduct toward fellow employees and others as corrective action may result for improper, careless, or unsatisfactory conduct. That's the positive part. And there's the rest of the paragraph, there's not really a list of expectations. The rest of the paragraph, it says, in addition to these listed rules, this is a list of prohibitions, not really rules. So to me, it says employees should remember to exercise good judgment. Employees are expected and required to maintain high standards of performance and conduct. And then the next sentence, to ensure orderly operations, city expects employees to follow rules of conduct that will protect the interests and safety of all employees. But then when you get to, this list is not all inclusive. Really,
If you go back to the original, if you go back to your original standards of conduct in
Yeah.
section 2.0,
yes,
it lays that out. A lot of that lays that out. It's not in here, but, it does lay a lot of that out.
right, and 2.0,
2.01 of your original.
The original, you're saying, referring back to the original.
okay, so, right, but the wording of this is confusing. I mean, if anything, maybe reference back to 2.01, but it seems like there's about 3 sentences that are positive, that should be first, and then,
If you read on here, I really like this language in the code of conduct. Crescent City is committed to the highest ethical standards of government. The following standards shall apply to all employees. And that's from the original manual.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to a city employee shall uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of Florida, and shall faithfully carry out all duties assigned to an employee's job function.
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
think that if you go through that list, I'll be happy to share that list so you can see that if you don't have that original one.
Right, original meaning.
From the old name.
The old man.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying is missing.
Yes,
And that's what
that's
we need
what
to
I'm
have.
saying, so we need to probably put
Yes.
that back in.
Okay, yes, that's one of the things I was trying to get at. There is no affirmative list of the clear expectations, and I think that is beautiful. But then when you come to the general rules of conduct where corrective action could apply, there's something, it needs to be reworded.
So again, you could keep it the way it is, you could start it off with a 5.10, this could be 5.10 code of conduct.
Yes.
Bring this in, and then once you set all this, no city employee shall give legal advice outside the scope of his or her employment. No city employee shall conduct official duties discriminate on the basis of or manifest by words, da, 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 da. Then you go into and make 5.1, 5.02 corrective action. When an employee's performance or behavior do not meet the city standards of conduct.
Yeah, I agree, I like that.
That's fine, but, because they, to protect the end,
And that takes care, I mean, that pretty much spells it out.
right, because this
There's something
waffles,
positive, yeah.
this waffles back and forth between, well, we expect good things of you, and then put the sentence, this list is not all inclusive. You have to have something, should say, there is a list of prohibited, the list that follows is prohibited conduct. It doesn't say that. It just needs to be tightened up in the wording.
I'm gonna just,
So anyway, but
Couldn't follow what you were.
okay.
They want you to.
So
Basically, old language.
basically this was in the old language, okay? And it's the code of conduct, yes,
And
two
put it-
point zero one. So make that now, and I'm gonna write on it 5.01 code of conduct and conduct and under conduct and standards, and then corrective action when you don't meet these
Right.
standards.
the list should be such as.
Yeah.
But yes, we need.
This is our corrective action that will be taken.
And then strike 5.02, general rules of conduct, since we've already listed it.
No, those are your prohibited, those are your failure to meet. 502, Mayor, aren't you saying would be failure to meet the rules of
Yeah.
the expectations?
Yeah. So don't strike this section, just, we wanna add the old part in addition first, actually.
Right, or, you
And
know,
some of these go back and forth. I mean, some of these might overlap, so we would just clean it up. And that just needs to be in the very beginning.
Yeah.
We are gonna adjust, knives, and no guns or knives. Some of our employees do use, especially firefighters, have particular knives that they use.
I have that circled and, you know, we also have our public works and they have to have knives and they have to have cutters and different things with them constantly in order to perform their jobs. Okay, anything else there?
And some of these, the using harassing for any opportunity, like that, and sexual harassment, we should really we can take that out because we've already covered that in the previous section, right? I mean, I think once you put that other section in there, where you can, some of them make sense to eliminate. Just to kind of pare it down.
I think it needs to be there just in case.
Yes.
Like you think,
Because
Exactly.
I think it needs to be.
It's for another employee,
Yeah,
not the boss.
that harassment was that they should all work in an environment free from that.
Hmm.
But then this lays it out.
prohibited, clearly prohibited. And to me, it just seems like,
we have sections about that, I don't know.
right,
Okay.
to me, it just seems like that's very important. It's a federal civil rights issue besides being a quality of life issue.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt to.
Okay, so now we're on page 16. Do we have any other changes in 16? Charles has said that they're working on this no guns or knives allowed in city vehicles, just simply because that will apply.
I need it. So 5.03 political activity restricted. I think there are some provisions in our charter about running for office. Maybe that should be referenced. There's requirements if you're a city employee and you run for office, maybe you have to take a leave of absence or something of that nature. But whatever it is, should be identified.
Anything else on that page? Let's go to page 17. Outside employment.
Mayor, I do have a comment about outside employment. There's also the issue of city employees running their own business. That happens fairly frequently.
And,
Pardon?
okay,
And usually it's my understanding it's included wherever outside employment is addressed. Because if you're a city employee and you have your own business, I mean, I think we have a city employee who has their own business. I think most workplaces require it to be cleared with the city manager or whoever the hiring person is. And as well, there are usually provisions about, just like outside employment can involve conflict of interest. You can't use work time to conduct your personal, for-profit business. You can't use city office space or whatever. I've seen that kind of language in other places.
well, oftentimes if it's outside employment, it's your own business, then that's also considered outside employment. That would be considered outside employment.
It's not
We might have mentioned, I mean, we could have that.
But engage in outside employment or self-employment.
And then they would generally, follow all that. This is the same, I mean, it's the same rules.
Yeah.
As long as you're not, just like, you're not, it's getting in the way of your city work.
Yeah.
So we can just mention that.
Right, for example,
Right.
I think I once worked with someone who, they had a family-owned business and they worked in that business and they didn't get it cleared.
Mhm.
So
Well, it says here that you have to have, must submit a written request for outside employment through the employee's immediate supervisor to the city manager for approval and inclusion in their personnel file.
Right.
So to me, that makes it very clear that, and if we have up here self-employment, you can just put that outside employment / self-employment. And that should cover all of it.
Because it's the same
Same
rules.
Same rules,
But
same rules
I
apply.
mentioned in the self-employment that does specify,
Yeah,
you know, so.
okay, then go down to anything else on outside employment?
Um,
5 point.
I don't see that it addresses using city facilities to do your other work. Right, facilities or resources, it says quite a bit, that's very good, but I don't see that it says facilities or resources.
Like using a city computer or something to do your, running your business. Do we, I don't remember seeing anything about computer use in here.
No, I've got that note.
Okay, yeah.
It's a big note on that. You could add something in here that, no city resources, no city resources can be used for outside employment or self-employment.
Because also, we make sure that, excuse me, they don't, like, be taking phone calls or something, or if you're at work and you're running your business and taking phone calls and taking away from your work, I mean, is that covered in here?
I think it is where it says cause any reduction in the employee's efficiency and duty within a city.
Okay, use of city equipment and vehicles. I have in here, such action may subject an employee to, you said corrective action, I said disciplinary action, and again, is that where you want to put disciplinary, or do you want to do corrective action? Because corrective action is just saying, next time don't do that, or if it's habitual.
Is that what we called it corrective action up here, didn't we? Is that what the section was called?
The section on
Yeah, because it's called.
discipline says corrective action.
So if we use that to be consistent with the term, so we can just, because the whole section is called corrective action, so.
The mayor wants it to be crystal clear.
Correct, or repercussions.
Right.
Because corrective can be very, warm and fuzzy and not, anything else on this page?
No, not for me.
The one thing I did have, Charles, and I was thinking about is, when they're using that, it does say in here about making sure that that their seatbelt is, does it have in here about seatbelt? I don't know, I have something about that the seatbelt is used. So something like that,
Use of city equipment and vehicles, is that?
Yeah, under the vehicle part.
where applicable, seatbelts should be used while operating.
That's just all.
It is, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to throw that in there in ours, sometimes
Where are you putting that in?
I just didn't know if you wanted to put that in
Well,
somewhere.
it basically, sums it all up. Operators will be held responsible for fines and for damages resulting from their own negligence. They don't know to put their seatbelt on, and the sheriff pulls them over and gives them a ticket. It's their own problem.
Okay, but now let me ask you this though, and Sheila, this is where you're gonna come in as for a question, is Sheila? Oh, you're reading it, I didn't know if you, so say they're not pulled over, say they're in an auto accident, they're injured, they were not wearing their seatbelt. And we don't have it in our manual that it's required that they wear their seatbelt.
Just put it in there.
What happens to that from a workers' comp standpoint? That's the reason I'm saying, is you're not, just because you're not always gonna get stopped when you're not wearing your seatbelt, but you could get in an accident, And we wanna make sure that they're as safe as they are, and that we've also, the city's also covered itself, that if you're not wearing your seatbelt.
I think adding it is not gonna hurt anything.
Okay.
Be safe.
Well,
And that way also the supervisor can make sure that their employees are wearing their seatbelts. I mean, it gives, because then it's explicitly in the manual.
And it might be something different that, you know, required, you might put some language in there from the attorney that requires
I think it's.
lawful operation.
I think it's saying, was saying that it is.
it's got lawful, up where the bullets are, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines up, it says vehicles will be used for official city business only and must be operated within the limits of the law.
Within operating the limits of the law.
So, you know, I don't know, to me, it doesn't hurt to say,
Right, that would be.
drive safely and follow the law.
And wear your seatbelt.
Okay.
But it
The
doesn't.
attorney, when the attorney looks at it, if they decide they want to add additional language to protect the city, they can. Okay, page 18.
Yeah, Mayor, if I could back on the driving thing.
Yeah.
I mean, considering that we're liable potentially for, you know, injury to others caused by employees driving our vehicles, I don't see anything wrong, and as you say, it's going to legal, with emphasizing that employees driving our vehicles need to do so safely. Because sometimes you see people looking at their phones or whatnot, driving on the wrong side of the road.
Okay. Go to page 18. And again, in 507, you have that no guns or knives.
You know, 5.06, where it refers to relative, I don't know why it's capitalized twice at the beginning of the sentence, but once it's just on its own. I don't think that needs to be capitalized. Is this the same definition that they use in Florida statute? Because I know when I was going through the ethics training, you talked about who is a relative, like, is that where this comes from, Dale, do you know? Or-
Yes.
Okay. Because I knew it was quite exhaustive, I was really surprised.
This one seems like it does,
It's longer.
it seems like it has first cousin, nephew, niece, you know, I didn't remember that. Stepsister, half brother, half sister.
I was surprised, but when I went through the ethics training last month, it was like it had mother-in-law, father-in-law.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of surprised about that, and stepsisters, I remember that, so I think this must be.
I think there's a stray, oh, sorry, PJ, I think in the second time, section 112.3135 is mentioned, there's a straight W character in there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure somebody will catch that at some point.
Yeah, it shouldn't be W there.
Anything else?
I don't know anything.
Instead of guns, should we be referring to them as firearms? A gun is very.
You could say firearms.
Yeah.
It's kind of standard, that's kind of standard language, firearms. Okay, let's go to 19. There needs to be a comma after activities, where it says activities, comma, which on the third line.
Where?
Third line, number 3,
From the top.
third line from the top. Activities, comma, which may include the serving of alcoholic beverages. Do we have anything else in here? No, we'll go on to page 20. 24 hours on care workers. Okay, is there anything else? Injuries. Do you have, Sheila, do we need to put anything in here on the job injuries? Employees are required to report any injury, supervisor immediately, but don't they have a 24-hour window in which to do that? Do you need to be more specific so there's not?
Probably should put the 24 hours
Okay.
window, because sometimes they don't report it until a couple days later.
Yeah, so immediately is the interpretation of what's immediate, so.
What page is that thing?
That's on page 20, 5.10.
So instead of putting immediately, you're just gonna put within 24 hours.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, you could keep immediately. You could keep immediately and add, but no later than 24 hours.
Yeah, because I think we changed it to the 24 hours, people will think they have all that time, but we should put immediately and then in parentheses for something, or comma, within 24
Within
hours.
24 hours.
The last sentence?
Yes,
Within 24 hours of injury.
the first sentence actually in 510. And they should at least seek immediate medical attention. But then, report within 24 hours.
It's just a secret, don't you have to tell your supervisor, are there things that we do, is there something?
You're supposed to report it immediately, because you, with workman's comp, they have to get tested.
Right,
Yeah.
there's a testing issue.
But in the event that they're injured so badly, they need to go and get medical attention first, most important.
I have a question about that for workers' comp there, could I ask that question? So, this is a question for Sheila or anybody. So if someone is injured on the job, are there specific places where they are supposed to go?
That is correct.
And they know where those are?
Yes. Once they report it, once the employee report it to their supervisor, then they are, taken to, medics in Palaca. That's who, workman's comp, the provider workman's comp give us, so they should be going to medics. And usually another employee will drive that employee to medics.
So we should,
Right, and I guess,
Do we need to be that specific in this? Is that something that we have to be specific in with the policies? Or just follow the workers' comp requirements?
it's all the supervisors are trained.
yeah, I think that's
It
the part.
changed, what
Okay.
kind of stuff changed. but, you know,
Okay, so require, just follow the workers' comp requirements.
Yeah, Mayor, I think that's, your general description is exactly what's kind of missing. Right, follow the workers' comp requirements.
Okay, do we have anything else on this? Okay, we're gonna go over to page 21. I didn't, I'm not sure this is a new, is this new for us, is payment of accrued annual leave? Is this a new policy that we're bringing in
No. that's
once per
been-
year, so they've always had that ability to do that, to cash in?
Yeah.
To cash in there, okay.
Yes,
I guess that we keep that in our budget, so that they,
Right, we have, it's a line item, right? For uncompensated leave,
I don't think so.
that's already something that we have.
well, generally, it was my understanding
It's in all,
that employees could be paid on separation. This, for a certain amount annually, but this is saying from time to time,
Yeah.
they can't be paid as long as they keep, a certain balance.
15 days or 120 hours annually.
That's a lot of leave.
How long have you been here for?
Right.
15 years, yeah.
It would require some longevity.
Which we have plenty.
Okay.
So we want to,
So basically, I don't believe that is in our budget at all.
I don't know that we have that in our budget, but
It's in the audit, I guess. It's
It would just be
liability.
a payroll expense.
Yeah.
Just show up and they get
Yeah,
paid.
yeah.
The taxes comes out of that, right, just like,
no, usually you would get, would you be at your standard, or would it be higher taxes that are paid out of that? Because you're doing like almost like a bonus.
no, it's just.
It's not a
it's
I
like
bonus.
vacation.
know it's not a bonus, but sometimes we have differently, depending.
It depends on how long.
It is.
You'll just add to this payroll. They take another week's pay.
Okay.
Cash in a week if they're,
Now, if they were gonna catch in like 2 months or something, that would change their
Well, they
withholding.
can actually,
But it would be their responsibility, really. I mean, if you just take out the same withholding.
yeah, and it says with due consideration of finances of the city, so I have the ability to say that that's too much, we can't.
Okay.
Do I need to put this?
No, you just push it over to the side.
Okay, just.
Yep.
Great.
But
I mean, I
they-
know- I know-
I agree that the uncompensated leave is in the audit as a liability.
Yes,
Okay. But we don't actually, how would,
that's where this would come from.
okay. Is it, and I know there's a number that we have somewhere.
Is it touchable?
No, that's fine.
Above that, there is, employees may carry forward to an employee advantage from one county accumulated in September 30th. See where September 30th, there needs to be a space between September and 30th.
Yeah.
We have any other questions on page 21?
No, I'm reading through this, is there a limit? Like, do we have something that says that they can't accumulate more than a certain amount or they lose it?
30 to 240 hours, is that what I'm reading for the moment?
Up to 240 hours
Yeah.
into the next year.
It's, I think, in the next
And that's
paragraph.
what they carry over, okay.
Yeah.
Right, well, and I'm assuming that that's why we have the provision that people can hate, right? Because,
Cash outs on that, rather than losing.
Yes.
exactly, and or take time off. I mean, some employers require time off, but we probably can't afford for people just to be out, right?
Yeah, that.
You can't afford it, but
But it is employee.
People can
mental
say,
health,
"Look,
yeah. Support for mental health, but trying to take some time.
so page 22. Right here where it says sick leave, the city provides sick leave to its employees. Do we want to put to its full-time employees? Because they're the ones that are able to get the benefit of sick leave, correct?
Correct.
There's a heading that says full-time employees. Sick leave accruals, full-time employees accrue sick leave, it just doesn't say anything about part-time
It
employees.
doesn't. It just, I'm just talking about 6.02 where it says just so that, you know, sometimes you have to cross those T's and dot those I's, otherwise somebody probably can tell you that. So you provide sick leave to its full-time employees.
Anything else?
Second line from the bottom, the word that is missing its H after doctor's statement.
And you usually say tab.
Supposed to be that's done.
Anything else?
One of the other things that needs to be checked through here is when we use digits or numbers, like it says if an employee is sick for a period of 3, and then in parentheses you have the 3, the number 3. It's always been my understanding that you want to have the number written out, and then you put the parentheses around it, that's, you could go back and forth in this whole thing. It's one of the things that I started highlighting at every instance of it, and I kind of got tired of
So
doing
is this way, the way you want it?
Yes, that's the way it should be, and every other, right, correct, copy.
Anything else on that page? And then let's go to page 23. So we always had this donation of sick leave, that's always been an option.
Yes.
Um,
You know, we had there was a point where, Jill was really sick and, she didn't have enough time, and then it was, Beth who had to go back home because somebody was really sick and she had to take care of somebody, she didn't have required. So some of us donated our sick time to her, even though it's not.
But it was
But now-
allowable, we have it on the, we have it on the books.
Now it's kind of codified though, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine, yeah.
Payment for accrued sick leave, I've come down here, employment is separated from city employment. The second paragraph, and payment for accrued sick leave, unused sick leave, that just needs to have a K there, SIC.
Yes.
Anything else on here?
Oh yeah, that's what you're saying, so, yeah. And if they have vacation, we are specifying there's two different things, there's sick leave and time off. Are we still, is that what we're doing? I know a lot of companies have just kind of like PTO or.
Yeah, we still have vacation.
We still have
sick
vacation
leave,
and sick.
bereavement time.
Yeah.
Public just did that, they just went to PTO.
Right, it's just- because then- I mean, I don't, if you are a good employee, you can work all the time, my sick leave is kind of,
Waste.
wasted, yeah. I always like having mine, but,
Except that you can donate it.
right,
Well, it sounds to me like a sick leave here, though, you can actually, if it's
yeah,
here, you can actually cash it in.
Right.
That's what
I
you're
think it's
saying.
you cash in your leave, your vacation time.
well, no, this is right here, payment for sick leave.
Yeah, this is allowing you to do it for sick leave too.
Sick leave.
Once a year, they may request.
Yeah, and then also when you're separated, you can get 25% of that.
I like it because it's an incentive not to use it.
Right.
Otherwise, I better use it, so I'm just gonna lose it.
Yeah. But do we also, if you're separate, when you're separated, what's the policy on the vacation time? Do we pay 50% of that? Is that in here? I know we're just going through.
What'd you ask? I'm so sorry.
When you're separated, when you leave,
Uh-huh.
do you get your full vacation time or is it
50%.
50%? Okay, so then you get 25% of your sick time. That's correct.
Actually, Mayor, on the subject of sick leave, I have a question. So Charles is saying, he likes our sick leave policy. Do we, I don't know if it belongs in here, but now that we have, COVID and pandemics or whatever, do we have a policy about, employees who are contagious staying out from work? Do we require that or do we address that?
We don't have anything because COVID was so new and that was, those were.
We need to look at it.
But, for example, things like flu, I mean, there are certain things that are highly contagious. And
That's something that if they don't have any sick leave, or they have a day of sick leave, they test positive for COVID. And it's a requirement that they have to be, we have a requirement, they have to be out for the 5 days until those 5 days, the CDC.
We had that,
We had that
We were
policy,
utilizing that
we
policy.
utilize that, but we don't have it here, and then if that happens, if we're requiring them, if we tell them, you have to be out of the office for 5 days, you only have 2 days of sick leave.
Yeah.
How are we covering that, is that on them?
That's how it was.
Okay.
COVID, we were giving them the time off. if they were
Yeah,
vaccinated.
we gave it to them if they were vaccinated.
Right.
True.
Right.
So how do we want, do we need a policy for that, or do we need something separate for that?
Better have one in place before. And you
I
think,
think you could, it would depend.
I guess we can look at too, how other communities, how other cities are doing that, I'm sure our legal, when they do a legal review, so we'll put that for,
obviously something we didn't think about that before, but.
yeah,
we- it won't have to-
because I'll tell you what, what happens, and it happened back then too, is that people won't test.
Right.
Because if they know, then they know, and they have to be responsible for it, and if you find out that they know that, they weren't responsible, but people won't test, they'll come to the office and they'll spread it around, and then everybody will have it.
And then I can test it on telling them.
So is that policy you're saying that you're gonna put in place is gonna also state that, if they are tested positive, that they have to bring in their notes and stuff?
Well, I don't know, that's something that we're saying,
Yeah, we need
that
to-
you need to legally look at that and see.
Right.
You know, and it has been an honor system, I think, hasn't it, Sheila? It's been an honor system that, you know, if you think you have COVID, please test, and if you do test positive, please conduct yourself accordingly. Okay.
And I think it's definitely for everyone's well-being that they're not here, right? And so we want to encourage them and not cause a financial hardship.
Okay, let's go on to page 24, leave without pay, we've got leave without pay. First paragraph there, first line there, the city has a small workforce, comma, which makes it difficult to accommodate.
I love the comments, Judge. Yeah, I know, I mean, you're good do something, though, I appreciate it. Sometimes people are using, again, I didn't want
You
to.
always, if you have which, it always goes to, I'm sorry, that's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, the bereavement leave, I'm sorry, I was trying to figure this out. So if someone, if someone passes and they're, how does it divide? Do they have, is bereavement pay just a pool of hours that you can have, or is that, how does that work? I'm just, it's not clear when I'm reading this.
It's just how you code it, right? The hours are out,
Well,
put down bereavement.
Is there a limit to that? Is a,
3 days.
okay, maybe that's what.
3 days.
Okay, that's what I was understanding, thank you, sorry. I mean, it's one of those things that.
Salary. Yeah, it's just salary you're paid, but she codes it as bereavement.
I thought PJ was asking about, is there a limit on how many times, but, you know,
Or no,
it just says immediate family. I mean, there's no bereavement, it doesn't accrue, it's
right,
just
that's
something we
just
do.
that, okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to understand really how that works. I know it's
It's really just an administrative provision that
It's
is kind of automatically granted
and it should
with the
be,
notification.
it should be, I mean, that's.
Right.
the way.
Anything on jury duty and court appearances?
I have jury duty.
I guess then we'll just leave that up to legal review. As long as it meets that requirement.
Ready for page 25?
We're done, we're finished, we're done.
You're all done?
Yeah.
Goodness, I knew I said that would be done.
Charles Tadoro.
We're on page 25.
Okay. I have some notes on here, I'm trying to figure out on Labor Day. Just for, like, it says Veterans Day, Thanksgiving days across here, day after Thanksgiving. Wonder if you should do Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, we should kind of combine those two and not do them,
Separate,
just so they're kind of in conjunction with one another.
yeah.
You mean to make it more readable?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him, and also, aren't the holidays set in the charter, or am I imagining that?
And yeah, they're just, it is in charter.
So just
So
need to,
June,
just need to make sure they match.
yeah, because June
I didn't check it,
is, did you, or is that just?
I didn't
Well,
check it.
Charter wouldn't have Juneteenth.
They would have Juneteenth in there,
Yeah.
But,
Might still have President's Day or something, or
yeah, I don't think I was supposed to say that. I was gonna say it has 8 days. But I mean, we can go further than the charter,
Right,
Yeah.
right? So this is also, we
I
have,
think if you're good with this list.
yeah, I think this is.
You know, everybody spending all this time off and things, and I guess for me, working in the working world, I don't know why we have people that we're hiring and then they have to accrue their vacation time immediately. I mean, couldn't we have an incentive where they actually get 1 week off immediately that that's the guarantee for them without having to accrue it, or does it take a whole year to get that year, I mean, how long does it take to get up to 2 weeks, I guess?
Well, I don't think, Arizona's set up that way because you approve time weekly.
Okay, so,
There's a pay period for that.
Yes.
so how much time weekly are you kind of, what is it, 0.2 hours or something?
It's like 1.5, I believe it is. It was breaking down in the hole and I thought it was in the middle too. But
No, I'm just saying,
I
I
think if
know,
you take it before you accrued it, we let you go, and then if you were to leave, we take it out of your last pay. Is that the way to do it? Maybe I'm thinking of a different.
no, I'm just talking about a whole different kind of idea that says, you know, it's called incentives. You put that out there that the first year you work, you get a week. You know, you don't have to worry about all this, 1 point, whatever, whatever you're doing every week to get a vacation day. That's a given, okay? We're gonna give you a week off to start maybe working on the second week, I don't know. And not necessarily.
I think we're telling you,
We need to talk into our,
yeah,
just Commissioner.
I know you don't get anything until you finish probation, then you're eligible for vacation, you earn, 10 days a year, the first year, starting
so.
So
right away.
you actually can earn that 10 days in
Yeah,
a
and
year.
I don't think we've ever denied anybody.
Okay, that's, I guess, my question. I've never had to do that, I've always had jobs that said, hey, you get 2 weeks, okay, I like that. And then, like for holidays, we had optional days that we could take, and optional days, that you could fit in anywhere that you wanted them, as part of your
Like a
vacation.
personal day, that's something that a lot of companies call
Yeah.
like a personal, you get a certain amount of personal
Yeah,
days a year.
And of course, we always have New Year's Eve off, some of
Well,
the,
there's like
the big ones.
So I have to work those days then too, right?
But like New Year's Day, but optional, we used to have a lot of optional days. We always got a certain number of holidays off, but we could use them any way we chose. So, it's just something to think about,
I had them make them, there were 2 days, one the city manager would pick, and one you got to pick.
Well, yeah, just something to, either fill in a gap somewhere, like, let's say July 4th. It says, well, you get Independence Day off here, but a lot of people like to go a week off if it happens to fall on a Thursday, so they start to add things, to make a longer vacation or whatever, but, it just seems like every time I come here, 13 days where the door is closed seems like a lot. And some of these fall on weekends, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day.
But so if it falls on if it falls on a Saturday, they
for
get the Friday off. If it falls on a Sunday, they get the Monday off.
Veterans Day and first.
I'm just saying, that you can do, like, a lot of places do, and just give a few different options to how they want to use their holidays, I guess. But anyway, I was spoiled, so, what can I say?
We're government, we don't do things that make sense.
Yeah, I was spoiled.
Well, and that's just standard with government is that, if it falls on a holiday, but it's an entitlement that they do get those holiday hours. They do, and so for somebody to come in and say they want to work on Christmas Day, when everybody else is closed,
Well, no, and Christmas Day was one that we didn't have that option. See, you have options for different ones that, they want to close the doors or do whatever, but, for example, I know for a fact there's a Friday that you might be closing, but you need somebody to be on board all the time. He or she might want to consider a different holiday schedule, that's all. It's all in how, I know it's not gonna happen, but it's, things to look at, but go ahead, family and medical leave, I believe, I don't know that now.
So we have anything here?
This is all just, this is follows the federal law, isn't it?
Yes.
I think so. Has to.
Page 27, anything?
No.
Go to page 28.
What is qualified exigency, sorry, 27, on page 27.
On page 27.
Has something to do with the armed forces.
I think it's just not right now.
Page 28, on ND, National Guard should be, okay. Anything else there? If not, we'll move on to page 29. Anything there? If not, we'll move on to page 30. I've got a note, I wish I could read my handwriting. Boy, I'm trying to procedure for the question after no. We, city management must in writing, city will provide the employee with Department of Labor notice of eligibility and rights. City management must in writing all that. But anyway, anything else anybody else has?
Okay, I'm gonna leave
On
this.
page 31,
Yeah,
page 31. Okay, nothing.
uh,
Page 32.
The spelling issue that I mentioned in the heading for Article 7,
separation.
Right, so-
That's not-
spell check, hopefully at some point we'll take care of that.
Well, I'll tell everybody this, because now, in Microsoft Word, spell check does not work on all caps. So anything that's in all caps, you have to go into spell check and click that off. That's a default setting in your Microsoft Word. So that's why we end up with ordinances that all titles says, and ordinance is spelled wrong every single time.
All right.
A lot of, many times. So, and that's why.
Thank you,
does not-
Commissioner Wade. That was very
This is
interesting.
my little quest to try and spread the word out everywhere. But yeah, Microsoft Word's default setting is to not spell check all caps.
That is a fun and helpful fact.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, if you're on the, yeah. Abandonment is spelled wrong too.
So if we go down to 7.03 termination for cause, I have a note in here, criminal conviction. A lot of these, they require to have a criminal conviction. I'm sure that, should we put something in there for, that's something we need to run past legal, but if it's a felony conviction outside of this,
Mayor, where is that?
Understood.
termination for cause, 7.03.
Okay, and in that list somewhere there's criminal conviction?
No, there's not.
There's not.
Oh,
If you're convicted of a felony and not related to work, is what you're saying?
Or, yes,
Yeah.
just related to anything, that if you're convicted of a felony.
You lose your job. In fact.
You're going to prison, so you.
Well,
Is that-
Not necessarily, not necessarily.
the prisons are very full.
Right, and felony, could be a less serious felony. Probation is in 5 years. I mean, could be a federal felony, you have to go to jail and all.
Do we have anything else on it? Exactly, we have probation.
I'll have probation and $1,000 fine,
$5,000,
as an example.
So,
so that can happen.
but what would be the reason that we would fire them exactly?
Because
Because
they're,
committed a felony.
Because they have a felony offense.
The whole world is trying to find ways to employ previously.
Well, and that's why I said, we'll have to run that through legal to see if there's some way, if there's something in there that, that we would excuse, or how they would excuse it. If they had a felony conviction, do they have to come to the board, for
I mean, it
an
seems,
excuse?
yes, it seems
To
to
be
me it would.
excused, it could be circumstantial, you never know. but I think that at least we need to have something in there
But it's,
that we can address that if they have a felony conviction.
because obviously if it's something like burglary or embezzlement or something like that, we don't want them working in the finance.
Yeah, there's certain things that you know, that you,
No offense, finance.
do we have anything else on this page? If not, we'll move on to page 33. This is, I think, wait a second, before we go back here, because this is, in this whole area, this is where I think we've had some concern that there's nothing about computer usage, social media usage, there's no smoking in vehicles. I know I don't think I saw that, where we have smoking in vehicles.
We did talk about that.
It's somewhere, yeah.
It is in there somewhere, because we brought that up.
Okay, I looked for that with smoking in vehicles and I just didn't. But definitely with computer usage, and emails.
Right.
That would go under Article 5, conduct and standards.
Yes. I think that's- And then we might have, the one part where we were talking about vehicles, so we would just break out the vehicles as a separate, because that's not under the, equipment, city equipment. We can always break that out as a separate, and make sure that we put it in, and there's no.
Okay.
And also, is there, maybe I read in the old one, something about, if the vehicle that you are assigned is having a problem, it's your responsibility to make sure that it's reported and, to make sure that your assigned equipment is in working order. So like, if the check engine light comes on, you have to make sure that you tell someone and you get that taken care of or something. Maybe that was the old one, I don't know, so. Something, yeah. But I mean,
I
it seems
think
to
it
make
might have
sense.
been, I think it might have been in here.
Because it just seemed like, I don't know, it's not my truck, I don't care, it's not gonna help anyone.
I thought there was something that covered that, but certainly it's appropriate.
It was in my head somewhere, I don't know.
I thought there was something about taking care of city equipment.
And that's the other thing is, some of these items that, if we're thinking about it, like, well, let's check the manual, you're gonna go look in the manual, well, it's in there somewhere, well, we need to kind of know where to look. So I think sometimes adding some of these headings, like the computer use and vehicle use, so that it is easily accessible, we can charge it easily, instead of just being in there somewhere, It would make it easier when there is a violation or something that we're trying to correct, that you can find it, easily.
More fleshed out index.
Yeah,
Something else that I know we have the code of ethics, in the other one. I'm trying to see where we have code of ethics. I don't think we have a code of ethics in this new one. So that is, I mean, we had,
well, that's what we're adding, isn't it? Well, no, that's different.
No,
That was-
that's
There's 2.01,
that's different.
that's like the
So
expectation.
we have, code of ethics is to avoid misunderstanding conflicts of interest should arise, employees in the city shall adhere to the following policy, and that's,
Yep.
shall not accept any gifts, including Christmas gifts,
Right,
favors,
that
or
is-
services.
That's-
So there is actually, having read this first one, there's some information, there's some things in here that I do believe need to be put to this one.
That's 2.01.
That was one of them, violence in the workplace. And I don't think that we have the violence in the workplace either.
There is a paragraph called violence.
Is there?
I thought
Yeah,
there
well,
was.
yeah, that was-
Which one is it?
5.07.
Okay, workplace violence, okay.
Yeah, that's 2.04, the code of ethics, I think, because that's something that definitely needs to be addressed, employees receiving gifts, I'll learn about, is there an extension for the Christmas party next week? Or is it next week? Or we got?
Oh, it's next Friday, I thought I would be there.
Well, that's an activity.
It just says that you can't receive Christmas presents on
Well, they're not for a specific person.
Some vendors bring us donuts when they come to other markets.
Yeah.
And that's something that's kind of,
Yeah, we like that, they can.
Normally you have like a 25, I mean, not this state, I think it was a state, you had nothing under, over the $25
and that's
threshold.
other one.
Yeah, so I mean, that's
But there's
something
not
that,
a-
the
something that's-
donut, although it tasted like it was worth $50, it really was only about $2.50.
I worked for the city of Groveland during the bubble,
Yeah,
and builders would bring in amazing food at Christmas time, just stacked all over the place in the building. Candies and cookies and sweets.
some of these pretty expensive baskets with some whatever. And years ago, our engineering firm, I think, somebody back 20 years ago, brought us a nice, really great basket, we couldn't eat it.
Oh, too expensive.
Yeah, they were,
Couldn't accept it.
we started to, and somebody, I don't remember who it was.
So I guess we're going back to this, the computer usage, which is,
And it's somewhat covered, under the equipment part, but like I said, I think we would break that one out, the computer usage. Because that way you can go, if you're an employee or a supervisor, and you have a question about that, it's much easier to look and see that computer usage and it's specific right there. Instead of thinking, oh, it's under the use of city equipment part, and I think it makes it easier for the employee to know that too. So if they have a question of whether they're doing the
Is there
right
a
thing.
section in the old one on computer use?
Yeah.
Say,
Is there? I can't find it.
about, forget,
no computer.
No.
oh, computer usage.
I don't think it was. in-
I believe there is something, I believe there is, I'm looking through it now to make sure, but
Yeah.
this is some language that was in here too, and maybe it's in here and I didn't find it.
Yeah.
The criminal conduct, any employee arrested for any crime shall notify their supervisor within 24 hours of the arrest, or as soon as practical, and advise the supervisor what the charges are, and then the employee may be available to return to work.
Yeah.
And so that might cover that whole thing about what we talked about with the criminal charge. If an arrest involves criminal conduct which is job related or which may affect the public's trust and confidence in the employee of the city, the following actions will be considered.
And that just goes with them being arrested, first of all, if they're charged.
Yeah,
So they might be.
and that's
in the-
2.10 in the old one.
And computer use is 5.5 in the old one. According to the table of contents.
Was there anything else under page 33 and 34?
I had something, I think, for 33. Okay, so on 33, down the last paragraph, down at the bottom, under grievance process, step 2, that's the last paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth line from the bottom, says grievances should not be submitted to the city commission or city attorney unless the grievance pertains to the city manager. I think that should be stated more affirmatively, that grievances pertaining to the city manager should be submitted to the city commission or city attorney. All other grievances should be submitted to the city manager. Because you want to be very clear that, people have that avenue. And I think this is, just to be very clear and stated affirmatively. City manager grievances, boom, this is who you report to. Everything else, to the city manager.
In the former one, and also Charles in the former, and some of this is something that, you're the one administering this, you're the one that's dealing with the employees on this, you and Sheila. So salary changes for transfers, promotions and demotions. It seems like it's very, detailed.
Yes.
And that's not in here. Do you think, Sheila, you and Charles, do you believe that you need to have something in our policies about, changes for promotions, demotions, and transfers? about this too, like you've got some you've got language in here, to meet business needs, the city may occasionally transfer employees to a different department, position, or location. If this action taken if the action taken results in a reduction in salary or demotion for the employee, the reasons for the action will be submitted in writing to the employee prior to the effective date of action. You would hope that we would never have to have a reduction in salary. Sometimes, though, it could be what an employee considers a demotion title. I don't know, it's just something that you might wanna
What
look at.
number is it?
That's gonna be, well, Charles, I don't know, why'd you ask me that?
So I can find it.
3.04, I. You might wanna look through all of 3.04 and see if there's anything in there, that you need in management. Because that's transfers, the city encourages employee transfers for the purpose of increasing job knowledge and skills in preparation for advancements and promotion. And sometimes as the manager, you're gonna have to make adjustments, and you need to protect those adjustments that you have to make.
Looking through here again to the computer policy, like the
Yes.
old one.
Yeah.
You could use it, I mean, it's fairly, it's fairly comprehensive, I think we need to bring that up. Look at
I made a note.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, it's,
I think to me, the new policy is streamlined, but I think it seems to have left out some things that are fairly essential. There's just quite a few topics that I don't see covered, in the new policy. And computers, media information,
the media, yeah, like,
right, the computer policy is very, very clear, it even addresses social media, which,
something outdated, but it's specific.
well, I'm glad that y'all are updating this, because it says, the last time this was done was around 2012 or 2014, but actually, there's quite a bit that is just not addressed in the new policies.
On the media information part is, here, I think it might need to be expanded a little bit. Because in the event of a water main break or something, we don't want all the employees just going big on the news, that we need to have, it needs to be specified that there's a city spokesperson, and that's who talks to the media, and it should be the city manager, right?
Well, and that's addressed in 5.08 in the old,
Right, that's what it was.
Policy.
Yeah.
it's very clear, and that's very important.
So, Charles, I would, you might wanna look through 5.0, office policies, safety. We've got in there already the accident reporting, emergency evacuations, weather emergencies. I liked in here the security and sensitive information,
Yes.
which I think is something that we need to
What was
be, very strict on and very clear about. So I did have that.
that? The customer relations part too is also.
Well, for example, also in 5.0, there's a HIPAA policy.
We don't have identification badges, do we? The employee identification badges, have we thought about ever doing that?
I think at one point they did have,
Okay.
and I just don't think that
Also
I don't think the office
Yeah.
employees had, but, public work and the gas department had them at one time.
Yeah, I think they should have it. In the event there's if there's a gas break, a gas.
That's why, they do have like, they wear the uniform shirt.
I think we should still have some sort of ID policy so that they have something official. If it's late at night and there's a gas main leaking and they need to get through the police barricade or something, they need something they can show anyone and say, this is, that's official. It just seems,
And the meter reader. I mean,
Yeah,
if you know
Ford
that's fine,
definitely, because you know, Ford is definitely on, I mean, he's in my backyard.
Yeah,
Once in a while, I'll look up and say, boy, I'm glad I didn't have my blind open that day.
What's that section called?
That's 5.01 in the old one, and it's going to be office policies.
I don't know which one of those below.
Oh, that is 5.03.
That's bad, it's, I'm sorry, 5.03. And then I think if you go down 5.04 is your city equipment and vehicle usage policies that we were talking about.
Yeah.
That, you know, and that's when using city property, including computer, obey all laws, guidelines, obey all laws. I'm aware of employees' computers expected, however, use common sense. Food and drink should not be placed in your computer.
Don't use the DD trails.
And there's, you know, there's a lot of information in there about, well, it says no social media use while you're at work. I mean, there's just good stuff in there, but some other things I see in office policies and the old one under 5.0, things that are spelled out are, timekeeping, meal periods, break periods. Don't we have to specify those things?
Oh, no.
And then,
Everything.
and then seminar attendance, office travel, education and training. I mentioned HIPAA. There's quite a few things on here, that I didn't really see. Oh, there's one, smoke-free environment. I mean, that's state law, but,
You and Sheila as
animals.
managers of this, these are just to protect you too, you know, so.
It makes it a lot easier for you.
Okay, do we wanna continue? Do we wanna take a break and then go into job descriptions?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break.
Understand, or?
We'll be in
You're
this.
trying to do really
Let's go.
guilty.
That's what I
I really-
so
Let's go.
I gotta.
Okay, job descriptions. So Charles, you wanna,
Well, this is a pretty standard, city manager job description. And this is based on what we had already, Dale.
the only thing I see is that, education, master's degree, it doesn't give us any, because sometimes experience can substitute for a master's degree. So I think you want something in there to allow some flexibility. If somebody comes in, they have a 30-year city manager, they're a 30-year city manager, but they don't have a master's degree, then, you know, we just want to be careful because
Say preferred.
preferred, you could put preferred, you
Or
know,
equivalent work experience.
or equivalent work experience, only because, you know, we have people that, that will hold us to this. Residency not required, but preferred, we had a distance that they set, yeah. And I think that rather than not required, but preferred, just for,
Yeah.
so that it can't be criticized, like it, you know, that we just say, you know, city manager must reside within 30 miles.
Mayor, could I make a comment about the city manager job description? It seemed to me, earlier today, I don't know if Charles even had time to see it, but I asked him for a copy of the ad that we did to advertise his position.
I saw your reminder at the time.
That's fine, I meant to send it to you several days ago, and I just forgot to do it. It seems to me that the job description more tracks our current city manager's resume than the job description that we advertised. And that, the particular issue was, where is it, the master's degree? I don't think we advertised it,
It hasn't been before.
right, I don't think we did, and so to me, I think we should try to track, whatever it was we advertised, and then, the provision of residency, I don't know what we advertised. I don't think we advertised that it was required, and then it's in, Charles's current contract of the 35-mile radius. So.
They made a determination prior to Charles, was my,
Yeah, right, okay, so we
that
might
was-
wanna put that,
So we made, we could look back and see, but they did make a very specific.
Right.
The commission did, and so we need to have that language in there.
I'll check the-
Is it, just reading through the town of Lacka's new proposed charter, it in there has the description for their new town manager, and it has like I think it's, they don't have to, it says you don't have to be a resident of the state or the city when you're hired, but we prefer, it's like residency in the state is preferred after 30 days, and, you know, preferred to be in the city, but within 35 miles or something like that. And I mean, it's something that
oh, where is that, Bisha?
the town of Lacka, because
They're trying to,
they're doing the charter, they're amending their charter in March.
To
To
me,
be a council manager form of government, so the higher town manager.
right, well, to me, when you report for work, you need to be a resident of the state, because that's a pretty far commute.
no, but you know, when you get applicants, we got
Yes.
applicants from all over.
Yes,
So,
yes,
Yeah,
but
so
I'm just saying,
it had like a 90-day time. I mean, because you could be living in a hotel or something where your family's gonna be moving or selling their house or something like that. I mean, you don't want,
so I just think that,
and that was very specific, I don't think we needed that specific.
okay,
right, but I have one other issue. This doesn't really speak about the CRA responsibilities. And
That's because we have a CRA manager.
well, but Charles has, supervises that
I'm
person.
effectively the executive.
Yeah,
Right.
she's everything. Yeah.
Right, so, it doesn't mention that at all, and I think it was in our advertisement. Right, I've seen you put down that you're the executive director, it doesn't say that here anywhere.
But you know, for every manager that you get, we may not be asking for a CRA manager, or we may not, I'm just saying, sometimes you have to have a little bit of a
Might
broad,
be in a language, I have to look at the ordinance.
Okay, you wanna
that's all.
just look at that and make sure that it's taken care of. Then let's we move on
You're
to
really
the,
kind of putting your, knocking.
No, it's just, I mean, the job does require there to be knowledge and,
But the
yeah,
ordinance may say.
That's part of your responsibilities. I mean, that is part of your responsibilities as the chief executive officer of the
I
city.
don't remember.
and you could just add that in there, that it's the, chief executive officer or whatever, whatever language we see, all right? When you go to assistant city manager, so when you go to the assistant city manager, again, you come down here, a master's degree in finance or accounting. That you limited yourself to, yes, you limited yourself again there.
With, or, equivalent work experience.
Yeah.
Or equivalent work experience. And that
Um,
way you can have a person that has a bachelor's degree and
and
has
essential,
worked for 10 years.
yeah,
That's, like that thing.
essential job functions perform highly complex and responsible for managerial, highly complex what? I have a question.
Yeah, and that's.
Well, that's one of the things, that's not a complete sentence. That whole paragraph has some,
I think I
just incomplete wording.
And it doesn't have in here, it does the audit, but I think it also needs to be that they prepare the budget.
City manager is responsible for the budget, based on the charter.
He is, but
I mean, also, he's the one that submits the budget.
he submits the budget to us, presents it to us, but the director of finance is typically the one
That helps prepare.
that helps prepare that. So there should be something in there to say that they're,
But it is still the city manager's ultimate job to present it and prepare it. Which is how you guys did this year, right? I mean, you worked together. So to assist, the city manager in the preparation of the budget.
And I put that in there to update and for the city manager for, commission review and approval. Anything else on that one?
I do have a question about that one, on the second page, or no, it's for position title,
Page, yeah.
blah, blah. The finance director used to attend our commission meetings. There's nothing mentioned in here about that. There's a couple of other positions that mention that they may attend the commission meetings or may be required by the city manager to attend the commission meetings, but, Debbie Kingham always attended.
We always did.
Yeah.
She said it there.
Right, and this just doesn't even mention it. Shouldn't it at least say, maybe requested to attend?
Well, does, you come to our commission meetings.
Does, but the job description
I
does.
could put it in, maybe require attendance to the commission.
You just hide behind, I can't see when Bobby's here. So maybe you just.
Anything else on that page? Not, we'll go on to code enforcement officer.
Well, financial, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I do have one more thing for the director of finance. The organization chart shows a change in the city structure so that, the director of finance / assistant city manager is overseeing utilities billing. Isn't that a significant change?
Well, that's a very common structure.
Right, but I'm saying it's a change from what we're doing now, right? Didn't Jocelyn used to report to you?
She did, and I don't know if that was formally, if there was, some tensions between her and the
Yeah.
former finance director, so there may have been the structure just wasn't followed.
No, I don't think it was the structure, and I'll tell you why, because that change was a recommendation, from a Clarion when they did their analysis.
Yeah.
That was not the structure. Utilities billing was always a very separate department, and they recommended, that it be combined, but, if that is what is happening, then I don't see that reflected in, the job description. And, maybe we need to change it at a later date, I don't
That's the
know.
last sentence. Perform duties as requested.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know, to me, if we're changing the whole the organization chart,
You just add,
It should be-
oversee the utility building permit.
it should be addressed.
Yeah, I can add that.
I mean, it makes like a lot more sense to me.
Okay.
So we're
We move on to code enforcement officer, do we have anything on that one?
I didn't see anywhere that it specifies, that the code officer is part-time, or that they may be full-time or part-time.
I think that would probably be in the job advertisement, and that's just based on if in fact we decide we need excessive flexibility that the city.
Well, none of the jobs, I think, none of them.
So that would matter, yeah, right, whether they're exempt or
I
not.
think that just to be.
I
Yeah,
asked about it because for a long time, the code officer has been part-time.
so that's,
Right. That doesn't say
and then
that.
none of the job descriptions have that in there. I think that might be something we need to add.
Whether it's full-time or part-time.
Yeah, or in full-time or exempt or non-exempt. Right, and then,
That's a good point. It doesn't say, it does not, designate as exempt or non-exempt.
This position, I imagine, Pam retires, we probably have to make an offer of full-time to entice somebody to take this job.
she does have a lot of experience.
Yeah, she has a tremendous amount of experience.
And we've already increased her hours, we've already, on a need basis, we've been having to increase her hours, so.
So fire chief.
Fire chief, anything on fire chief?
And, here, this is a part-time position, correct?
Very, very part-time.
But he is paid something, correct?
Oh, yeah. So Mayor, do you have I have a question about the fire chief?
Very part-time.
The responsibilities says oversees fire department facilities, promotes participatory management principles, coordinates disaster preparedness, performs other related duties as required. Here it is, coordinates with Putnam County Fire Chief, Fire Marshal, and their designees on fire safety issues concerning the city. But my understanding from what Jason reports to us is that he is one who coordinates and negotiates with the county fire department. He's for, the provision of services. Isn't that a big part of his job?
It is, and I conferred with him on this language, and this is what he recommended.
I don't understand your question, especially.
Well, on fire safety issues concerning the city. To me, that's very vague and doesn't begin to describe what Jason does. I mean, he is a
Well,
negotiator.
There's so much in any of these positions that you can't,
But they also put it
you
out
can't
now.
put it all down,
It all
I think.
changes too,
And if
based
this
on,
is,
you're in, you're out. There's-
Okay, but it's not fire safety issues. He really, is responsible for coordination of services. And it's my understanding that there's a very complicated agreement between the different, entities, and that he is our representative on that. So to me, this is, kind of leaves out, a key part
so
of
what do
his
you,
job.
what do you think needs to be added in here?
Well, I don't even know exactly what to call it, but to describe the fact that he is our representative in, and I guess I would like to know the name of it, whatever coordinated, coordinated system of fire service that there is between, the county and the other cities.
I think you could just put on there, he is the direct, he's the direct contact, he's the direct.
I think the job objectives describes it fairly well. What he does for Crescent City.
And he does coordinate with the fire chief and the fire.
He coordinates with the county
Right, coordinating with the county.
fire safety, fire
It
management.
shows a name for that.
Right.
Well,
There's a very,
let's get that, we'll get that from him and
This is
add it
what,
to
this
it.
is what we got from him.
well, I know, but I'm not sure there's a name for the coordination of services, and he's the one who handles it.
Okay. We can add that in there. He does have some language in here, Charles, that you, when we talked about, like with Dale, attend city commission meetings when directed by the city manager.
Yeah.
So that's some good language. You can put that in all your director ones.
Not to be, keep saying it, but 20 years ago when I was commissioner, the public works director, the fire chief, the police chief, the finance director was at every city commission meeting. Because when something came up that we needed a question answered, we had a person in the room, and it just, we don't seem to do that much anymore. That was the first time I'd seen Jason when we did that workshop, but I know he worked at Daytona as a.
He's back and forth, yeah, so it just depends on shift, on his shift.
And that I can understand.
Most cities I work for, every single department director,
Right.
and every single commission meeting.
Yeah, right.
There's a gallery to sit in.
I mean, the seats over here should be full.
It's a long front.
Right, Deputy Cook was always there.
So let's go to the CRA manager and Main Street manager.
I have a question, you put those both together, and I'm just wondering how much of her time is spent as the CRA manager, and how much time is she spending as the Main Street manager? Where is she? I mean, these are two, pretty energetic projects. So, now Main Street is, some of this, it says the coordinated establishment of a Main Street type organization and apply for the Florida Main Street designation. Those things have already occurred. So I'm just wondering, how is she actually being used to balance those two objectives?
Well, I view everything she does for the Main Street effort is CRA effort. That's how we're leveraging our limited resources and funds, getting people and money and everything that happens through the Main Street organization is an extension of our efforts. So her main priority, in my view, is the success of that effort, that leveraging, particularly because of my background. I'm actively the executive director of the CRA. So she supports me in those functions. What I need extends my reach so that she's handling all the grant implementation, coordination of vendors, grant application process, all that CRA grant stuff. And plus leveraging our efforts through the Main Street approach. So that's her number one priority for me, to get that up and running and successful and thriving and doing its 4 points comprehensively. And then the CRA, we have North and South districts, which don't involve the Main Street folks. So like up there, she's doing the grant in the north for the pharmacy building, getting that, she's coordinating that whole project. We get something going with the plaza. So she's like my manager. For me, I'm initiating those efforts, or we'll both go out there and meet with people. So if I get the plaza involved, I'm interested in it, I bring my manager in, you work them on this grant process, make sure they know how to get hooked up, and see what they need, let's get a budget together. So she works in coordination with me on that. So if we begin to do projects in those, which we currently don't have work plans really for those two districts, we will soon, then she'll be my arms and legs many times in making all that happen.
Yeah, I think it requires to be split at some point. But that's my feeling on it, because I think we do definitely need to be working. And I know it's difficult with CRA because you're dealing with private people, so I know it's difficult sometimes to coordinate all of that.
The main issue is funding.
Yeah.
The way we were able to afford a Main Street program with a full-time director or manager was by creating this combined. The city was attempting to do it with a part-time position and couldn't fill it.
Mhm.
And so I was able to combine the two. And so we can pay somebody, she covers all three districts, so we can pay her out of all three in order to provide that position. We could in the future contract with a partnership for services and pay a CRA manager. We don't have the money right now. Yeah.
in all this.
Eventually, we can do that, that would be preferable.
Yeah, I'm just seeing how you can, right now, I think, she spends a lot of time on the events and everything for Main Street. Main Street does a wonderful job on that. I mean, I think it's great. They've done a wonderful job here in Crescent City. But we also need to start, some work on lots of things here in Crescent City, not just Main Street, I guess. And I'm not saying it's a simple thing to do, but I do know that we need to.
And there's a tremendous overlap, so when she talks to the new building owner, it's really both for the Main Street approach and the CRA approach.
Okay.
And that's what I was gonna say
The
also.
grant will come from the CRA, it won't come from the partnership.
That's what I was gonna say also, is that she overlaps, so oftentimes with these events that she's doing, with anything she's out there in the public doing, she's also representing the CRA, which is trying to bringing that economic arm back that we're trying to get. And it doesn't matter where I go, who I've talked to, people tell me all the time, I've been in contact with Christina. And so she's done, she knows the business owners, she knows the people that are out there. And I think also with Main Street, that was the city's contribution, and they had to have at least a part-time manager. A lot of communities, that's how they have to do it, is they have to split it with their CRA. So because those two overlap so much, that just makes sense.
I think Commissioner Burke just been making sure that she's not spending all of her time doing Main Street stuff.
Right.
And that there's a balance.
What kind of balance there really is.
It's just,
I don't hear a whole lot of what's kind of happening with the CRA in the south and the CRA in the north. We only know Central Avenue as being, where the focus all seems to be. So maybe we just need, as a commission and the public just needs to hear other things that are kind of happening within the CRA.
Well, we're about to update our redevelopment plan, which will have a north and south component, which we really don't have right now.
Okay.
We just have paved dirt roads,
and it's
to
just,
facilitate broadband,
All those things, yeah.
All right, Commissioner DeVito.
Yes, so I wanted to say, I agree, this is a very, heavy lift for any one employee to do. And as the mayor said, the requirement of us being a Main Street community, was that we had to make the commitment as a city to provide them a part-time position, at least at a minimum. That was the minimum we could do. And the only place that makes sense is the CRA manager. And then, just, to speak, Commissioner Burton, I thought I heard you say that we have other things that it would be good for us to do. I agree with that, and before we really contemplated, having a Main Street program, my original proposal, when I suggested we hire a CRA person, because Patrick Kennedy used to try to do everything, and that didn't work, was to have a CRA manager / economic development position. So it would be clear that their job would be economic development, and as Charles has said, we're limited by our finance. But just general economic development is important. And then, if you look sometime, we were saying, we don't need any other position because we have a CRA manager. If you look on the Florida Redevelopment Association website, we're too small of a CRA, but larger CRAs have much more specialized employees, and they always have, they have an executive, and then they have someone who does more what Charles just described about Christina, a professional, but they do the implementation work. And
They have whole staffs.
right, they have whole staffs, but, and of course, we're not that size. I guarantee you, Mellors or Hawthorne don't have whole staffs. But typically, the first breakout, even if you have a CRA manager, you have an overall director above that. And that's very typical.
And that's where you are executive director.
I think so, and I say maybe, I know Black, by ordinance, their city manager is their executive director of the CRA, even though it's been given to their assistant city manager, kind of informally. At the end of the day, the city manager is the ED.
And just like what we don't realize, because we're not shadowing her.
Right.
But when you talk to the various people, like I said, just the amount of time she's put into these CRA grants.
Oh, I know she's done.
Yeah, I mean, so she's pulled in all directions trying to take care of,
So we need individual to be able to handle all.
yes.
But I think Commissioner Burton had an excellent point when she said maybe the commission or the city, I forget exactly how you said it, but maybe we need to hear a little more about the things that are being done outside of the central core. Just so we and others are aware that we are doing something.
You know, I think I ask all the time where the RV park is. You know, what's the update on the new restaurant down there? I didn't even realize that the supermarket, Save-A-Lot, that whole area was sold to anybody, you know, and it's gonna be refurbished, I hope. You know, I guess I gotta drive around and ask people, and I don't think I should have to drive around and ask people at this. You know, I'm not tuned into anything, I listen to country western, and things like that, so that's all I'm asking is, I'm not aware necessarily of all of the activity that is necessarily going on in the CRA.
I do feel that when I read through the city manager report and read all of that, it seems like David Frank is the one that I always learn the most stuff from, because he's always talking and has the updates for stuff and talking about, like, I didn't realize that they pushed back the 4-laning of 2017.
2028.
Yeah, I mean, it's all I read, he does a really great job of that, but it's interesting that and sometimes, you know, Christina has stuff in there too that we read.
Yeah.
And, it's nice to,
It's just nice to be.
yeah, it's,
And my intention is to put as much I can into my report, that I can often leave things out,
No,
I realize now it was
I
fresh information.
Yeah,
well, I
it's
guess
just,
sometimes you found it out and you've known it for a few weeks, but we haven't found it
I
out.
didn't think.
And you didn't think about putting it in the report, because it's been 3 weeks ago, you know?
that's all. So, now we can move on
Anything else on that?
with this.
If not, we're gonna move on to Director of Natural Gas,
This will be a change, he's not currently a director.
okay?
So with the adoption of this, we've elevated him to a director position, which means the commission would have to approve. We're gonna let him go or approve the new hire for that position.
We might approve hiring David. That's
Yeah, they
possible.
probably,
So when he
You
retires,
better catch him before he retires.
Right.
How does he think about, retiring? Let me ask you about that. Didn't we at one time, didn't we talk about directors and kind of who, fired and hired?
we put in his, we tried to get a charter amendment to put him under my review, and it failed.
Okay. And y'all wanna talk about that a little bit? I mean,
probably.
That's not really
People
part
know
of
that
the
we
job
can't,
description.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
can't
we
change
could at a different time,
the charter specifies.
but
well, the charter may specify it, but all I'm saying is, you know, I think I was the one that brought it up to begin with. I know that if I was a director of something, and let's say you were very unhappy with me, it has to come to a commission meeting in order to fire me.
It's incredibly,
And I don't think that that's
Impersonal, yeah.
a great thing to do.
I would agree.
It comes to trial.
It becomes a public trial, and it's embarrassing, and it's dehumanizing, but we can't change that without the charter being changed and the people's vote and voted it down. If we want to try again to get a charter amendment, we can next year. I don't like hiring people like that either.
No,
And I think even the way that we appoint people to boards is a little bit embarrassing. I can tell you from when you guys did it to me, when I was, you know, beginning of the year, planning and zoning, kind of like, hey, BJ, what's, you know, tell us why, you know, and then sitting there discussing two people, like with Brad and, or Bradford and Bob. It's incredibly embarrassing sometimes to be that person. And you're putting yourself out there to volunteer and be.
okay, so
Yeah,
then,
But that's how boards work.
It is, but it is,
I mean, that's how people are appointed to boards.
So, I'm not talking about boards right now, I'm just talking about directors and different people that you would hate to bring them up here and just say, hey, you're a loser and we're firing you. And then start, having that person, that's just no way to do business.
That's why Charles tried to have that, or not Charles tried to, but we, the commission, tried to do that.
I think we should
And it
revisit
didn't
that.
get, it got voted down,
We can
you
do
know?
another, we can try it again. I mean, there's nothing that says that we can't try it again. That's something to talk about next year. I mean,
Yeah,
it just has to be on the,
okay.
it has to
So
be-
anyway, so not to diverse, which I did.
But, Mayor, I do have a point that relates to David Frank, and the charter and just responsibilities. I think there's a part in the charter that says, a second in command is supposed to be appointed to take over in the absence of the city manager, and we appointed David Frank as that person.
Yeah.
So do we need to make a change now that Dale is here officially?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, when we changed the term administrative supervisor, city manager, we changed that as well. So now Dale is the assistant city manager. So he is,
But it's
I don't know if
not
you want-
specified as the person to take over.
we
in
can
your
vote
absence.
on that, we can vote on
Yeah, we can
it.
vote on it next.
But I think.
I don't know that we had to vote on it, do we?
Yes, we
What does the charter say? Does it say we vote on it, or he determines that?
We do.
City
We
manager?
voted on it,
I know we voted on it.
but we did it because the charter said that.
Okay, I just
I
want,
have to recommend.
you have to
say,
recommend,
It
okay,
has to be-
okay,
So in his absence or
I'll put that
sickness
on
or
January.
put that on the January agenda.
So when
It's
is
nothing.
David expected to retire?
Sheila.
We don't expect him to retire.
Yeah, we're not expecting that.
So we're not expecting that.
But we made that extra position, right, so that someone who is there training within, in natural gas or the
Yeah,
public works, or natural gas, or.
but that's more for, case JT or Herman retire.
But then next year, we can get another person in there to train for one of the other ones. That was the idea.
If Dave retires, we're gonna try to find somebody with,
They won't retire until we let him. Dave was a great
at some
guy.
point.
I mean, we need to be working towards that and getting some, because aren't all three of them, well past? I mean, thought they are
They're
vested,
retiring.
ready to retire, yeah, they could retire at any moment.
Now, I'm looking at the minimum education and experience. And basically what you're saying is this is on-the-job training kind of thing. They don't need any type of education other than.
Yeah, it's a technical field. They
Yes, it is.
have been in that field and they can't come out of college.
I just thought it was.
Bachelor's degree in management.
Well, I'm not saying that okay, but I do know that, around 2 years, there's a lot of students on type of education. Okay,
Because this,
it doesn't have to be, in management, it's supposed to be like our cars.
Yeah.
So our certifications,
I hope we get somebody. like-
it twists.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, see, this is that.
So the next three positions are all that department. The next three, senior technician, operations mechanic, and distribution mechanic.
Do we have any changes to any of these?
No.
If not,
One
let's.
thing I wanted to point out, the experience and the education, I think on a few of them, it flip-flops back and forth on the descriptions. Like, I think experience should be first and education second, but I mean, around two of them, I think they were reversed. Just for consistency, so.
Oh, okay. So it's just the experience first and education.
Yeah, or let's be consistent too, okay, I don't know.
All of mine match up.
No, I thought that,
Mine has the minimum education and experience, and then it says experience, education.
right here on, the CRE manager, it says education and experience. I mean, that one was reversed.
I think with our gas, the experience outweighs.
That's why we just.
Oh, yeah, but it's not something that you don't get a master's degree in, gas.
Meter reader,
I mean,
okay, so then we're gonna move on to meter reader. Do we have any,
I do have a question, we just got a new meter put into our water line, and Ronnie stopped by because we thought that he had left the tool you know, he saw me struggling, but I was doing the course today. But anyway, he mentioned that, they had put a new meter in, one that he can drive by now. He doesn't have to get out of the car and do his thing. So what does that do? Is that just information that goes to him on his car?
Got a little device.
Yeah.
It drives all around, then he comes back here and he loads it in.
And he loads it in.
down.
Just you don't have to wand it,
Okay, so,
yeah.
yeah, I was happy
It's
to
not
hear.
quite, there's newer systems where we can take it
Take
from
it
here,
from, yeah.
but that's
That's,
$250,000, I think.
yeah.
Well, I did see that Galactic grant for that,
I think,
and you should ask where they,
really got that.
yeah, where they get that grant.
Yeah.
Okay?
But I don't know I think that grant might take us, I'm not sure if that takes us to that system, I think it might take us to this,
What we have
to what we have now.
It's- I mean, water meters, my understanding is that water meters, after 10 years, they slow down, so they don't measure the right amount of water, you're not billing the right amount of water. And we did have a program 20 years ago when we changed the water rates to replace them.
We're continuously, yeah.
And how, okay, so we are,
Yeah,
But I'm happy,
yeah, I can,
happy customer. Perfect.
you can get a whole new pipe soon.
yeah, you're gonna get a whole new bill back.
It's like SPL, they read it correct, nobody even comes to you, you know,
Oh, yeah,
they
it's always-
just come.
And it breaks down by the hour, which is
Yeah.
great, because you can look and see.
Pretty nice.
Okay, Director of Public Works.
I have a question about this.
Yes.
So essential job functions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down, it says assist the city manager on special capital projects.
Mhm.
Do you mean public works projects, like the water main?
Yeah, infrastructure.
Maybe we should say infrastructure projects?
I mean, it's a capital project.
Well, like, if we were to build a building, like we're gonna build a
Okay.
restroom or something.
Okay, I get it. And then does the director of public works, sorry, I'm not looking, this thing hasn't turned the right way. Does the director of public works supervise the supervisor of,
Yes, public works supervisor.
they supervise the public works supervisor? Okay, right, because I have a comment about public works supervisor. Right, yeah.
Okay, so is everybody good with Director of Public Works? Then we'll move on to Public Works Maintenance first.
Where is the, oh, it's after them, okay.
So this is gonna be this is Kevin's position.
Yeah, that's fine, I was curious.
Yeah, the next two
Everybody good with that?
are labor positions.
For you.
Well, where's the public works supervisor?
It's right after that, Public Works Supervisor, Bonnie Grant.
All right, the public works maintenance provision, positions, I believe there's 2 of them, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, both of them, their essential job functions, have the responsibility for performing tree trimming functions, and maintaining irrigation systems. It's my understanding they also trim the shrubs. Okay, it doesn't, because it doesn't say shrubs. But then when you go down to minimum education and experience, it doesn't speak to any training, experience, or knowledge of tree trimming or maintaining landscape or horticulture. It just says, knowing how to keep buildings, playground equipment, and facilities in good repair. And they really should have some experience and knowledge.
Landscaping.
Well, we have essential job functions on Karen and I'm gonna say Kevin as well, I didn't read all the way through it. But it says perform tree trimming functions and maintain irrigation systems. Operate heavy equipment, trucks and mowers.
I can add,
Yeah,
add landscaping maintenance experience.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
That, or at least to obtain proper training, because to trim your bushes properly and to trim your trees properly so that they grow properly, you need to know how to do that. It's not, someone with a chainsaw is not really an appropriate person to be whacking on your bushes and your trees. because you can destroy them, and actually, this has been a problem in Crescent City for at least 20 years.
So I just realized we don't have the new public works position.
And you don't have other workers assigned by you have it assigned by the public works director and not public works supervisor. So for Karen and Kevin.
Yeah,
this
should be
needs to be
public works.
kind of probably, worked out.
The new position was gonna help, gonna be more, gonna take on those functions Ron does, like water shutoffs, meter, and all that water side to free him up. To be more supervising this side.
And you make that change for the public work, that they were,
I got it.
public works director, and public works supervisor,
Okay,
those two.
and then Cecil's position is, the last one there.
I keep hearing that Cecil's ready to retire.
He's eligible, but he's
Not heard.
Okay, wait a minute, did we skip over, did we cover public works supervisor, or did we skip it?
Oh, no, there's, you have some comments on that?
Well, I do, because the public works supervisor, wait a minute. Hold on, who do, the two maintenance positions for parks and streets report to?
Supervisor.
Supervisor.
The public works supervisor?
It's, he needs to fix it, it says public works director. Is
what's
that the director of public works or public works director?
No, there's this, wait, we're getting confused here.
Okay, one question at a time.
Right, so my question
I'm
is,
gonna jump in and ask my question. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
okay, there's, after the two maintenance positions, there's a public works supervisor. So who do the maintenance positions report to?
The supervisor.
Okay,
He's
so that's right.
changing that in their job descriptions.
It's under,
Okay,
it's under objectives, it's not under essential job functions.
Under who they report
It says
to.
other work is assigned.
Okay, but if the public works supervisor is going to be in charge of, again, the maintenance of the shrubbery and the trees, then they should have some experience or training in horticulture, landscaping, tree trimming, something. If they're supervising these people, it doesn't mention that they have any expertise.
You can add that in because both Ronnie and Cecil have extensive experience.
They do.
They've had arborist training
Yeah. So you could
over the
just,
years.
as it applies to them.
That's one thing that, maybe we can do a little better is getting some training in for the new people coming in. I mean, I don't know how you feel to.
We were working with the horticulturists, and I just have connections.
Okay. But here it's like, you've got a supervisor, and part of a supervisor's kind of position normally is to help training as well.
Yeah.
If something kind of comes up, and like, I don't know how to do this, and hopefully they do, and they can say, well, let me show you, so I don't have to come back and do it again, you can do it for me. So I don't see any of that kind of responsibility for your supervisors.
Okay, wastewater plant operator. This is Herschel, and both Herschel and Jason, don't they have to have a wastewater
They have a license.
license?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there, Class C operating.
Yes, Class C, okay, just wanna make sure that that's what. Anything else on these two?
Is our SCADA system working right? Is there a problem with that? SCADA with the water system, where we're having a difficulty, he was working a lot of hours, making sure the water,
Yeah, we're having problem with communication
the
to
SCADA.
the towers,
Have you
plant the tower.
checked it out, or?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know the latest, but I'll have to find out.
And at one point, the two pumps at the big lift station down at the Sunrise Park needed repair, to be those done,
I believe it's all taken care
just remind me, sorry.
Okay, so utility billing manager,
of. It's Jocelyn's.
yeah, that's Jocelyn, is everything good with that?
I think so.
She's never gonna retire, right?
I don't think so.
We're not talking
she's
about
not.
it,
Okay, customer service specialist,
Wait, I have a question about that.
okay,
So for minimum education and expertise, we're talking about our utility billing manager. Is 2 years of experience in a billing department sufficient?
I think you also want to have experience managing,
Well, I don't know.
you know,
I mean, maybe it's not that hard to learn, you can be promoted, I don't know.
no, but we want to have experience managing employees, right? I mean, because she does manage
Yeah.
people.
And I had a more look at these in terms of, you know, if they retired, what do you think the next person needs to have?
I would have to agree with Commissioner Pete, I don't think this is right enough for that position.
Which
Well, I think we also have,
Utility billing manager,
I think what,
I think it's pretty good.
2 years of experience, a high school diploma or equivalent, preferred associate. I mean,
I think what you have to also, we also have to take into consideration is in a perfect world, yes, we would want a lot more. However, our job pool. And so,
we don't want to lower, I mean, that's lowering the bar quite.
I don't know that it is. I mean, somebody could be in there, we've had employees, I think, that have stepped in here that have had that 2 years of experience and could probably step right in and it just depends on the individual.
Jocelyn, I'm gonna give her a lot of credit. She's had an awful lot of people that she's had to work with over these last years.
I mean, she's.
And she's been able to manage that, so.
Right, but she has many years of experience.
Yeah.
So you would want to put, management experience.
Yeah, some, you know, experience managing a group of, you know, other employees or groups. Just because that's,
Yeah.
just managing people.
Wait, they're talking over there, but my suggestion would be that
She's probably.
managerial.
She's so much, and she came, at least she's been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
11 years, because she came into that position when I started. That was about 11 years ago.
So we want more required years of experience.
Well, they want that demand, experience managing a group of people or something like that, right?
And also,
Managerial.
so we just put down, management, education or some sort of.
Or just management experience.
Management experience.
You don't have to mention them.
Customer service specialist. We need somebody with a big smile.
Actually, our customer service works back on the phone mostly and doing paperwork.
But you have to smile when you're on the phone.
Yeah, that's true.
You can have smiles on the
And
phone.
people do come in and sit down with her when they have to open up,
Oh,
or they have issues, so they do have to come in and sit down with her. So,
Didn't we skip city clerk? No, it's
We're not there yet.
no,
not mine.
Do we have a city clerk?
No.
A certified,
Yeah, but I really want to keep moving forward with this, guys.
Our receptionist is front window.
Yes, window and that, we just have a new one now?
We do Jason's wife. So.
Is she under like 30 days or something? Do you put like 30 days kind of thing to see how things are going or?
She has a 90-day.
Yeah.
So she seems good.
Yeah, she-
Minimum, she's doing an outstanding job.
a position of receptionist is kind of an outdated sort of term, isn't it? I don't know, right, and then, I'm just something to consider, because I mean, if I saw that in the newspaper as an ad for receptionist, I wouldn't think of it as something that's gonna be out the window taking money, right?
Well, I think anywhere else we might call her a clerk, but in city business, that's a different.
Yeah, I just,
I want to go back to customer service specialist, Charles. I think we've limited ourselves when we say 2 years of experience with governmental agencies in the billing department or demonstrated competency in working with sophisticated in a billing setting.
Yeah.
Or other administration, something that doesn't limit them only to government agencies.
because if you worked at a bank or something like that.
Yeah.
That's.
So you might just want to put 2 years of experience, in the billing department or demonstrated competence
These are the same
Well, the
requirements,
second part of that sentence says,
but it's just the same
in a
requirements.
billing setting.
just in a billing setting.
Okay, I don't know, when I read that, I made some notes on it because I just didn't want us to limit ourselves, but.
Can I just point out that the requirements for the customer service specialist are the same as the utility billing manager?
They are.
Except for the, utility manager, we're adding management experience.
Right, but that seems a bit much, I mean, for the customer. we either need to increase the years or only one of them or decrease them, I mean, but like you said, instead of having experience in a government agency, the building department maybe just, and,
Maybe
you know,
5 years for them.
yeah, and maybe you're taking out the government agency part for the second one.
Well, the
Just
second half of that sentence says, or competency in a technology, sophisticated technology in a billing setting. So you work for a private company and it does billing.
like, let somebody that was a clerk at a bank would work, right? But that wouldn't, they wouldn't qualify under that. I don't think so, that was a
Well-
teller at a bank would work. The government agency part seems to be limited.
Oh, the customer service specialist?
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I mean, I don't think
What I
that's
just said.
Or other,
Yeah.
with government agencies or other organizations in the billing department.
Or,
Or you could just put in billing, yeah, and billing.
just take the government, government agency.
Official government, that you could put at the end, government, agency experience for.
Yeah. Right, or take a teller from a bank would be easy to handle, they would be able to take that job.
So then if we go to receptionist, do we have any issue with, receptionist? I know you said receptionist, we could put front desk,
There's just something to think of. I think of a receptionist, someone that sits at answers phones all day and doesn't deal with people face to face, just like us. I don't know, that's just me.
I mean, receptionist is usually the one who dealt with people face to face
Yeah.
in the old days.
Yeah, but we're in the 21st century now.
Okay, that's the traditional.
Yeah, and so who has this position now?
Shelley. Human resource and payroll administrator.
This is Sheila, person, right?
I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Do we have anything on this one that we want to,
Maybe let me Sheila.
Let's see.
not, we're gonna move on.
And so this is kind of with ADP taking over the payroll processing, that's not right.
Yes.
But Sheila, will you also be inputting hours, and that's basically it, like that's.
You'll be our connection with them.
She'll be our connection, she'll still be overseeing that to make sure if there's an issue, she'll be the one dealing with those issues. So she's still gonna have her hands in payroll.
Yeah, once it's set up, I'm sure it might be a little more, a little bit more work to get started, but then you should be able to.
You could put job functions will include payroll if you don't like the administration, payroll management. So,
I think for a human resource manager, and Sheila, she does this, she's been doing it for a long time. It's just like when we had questions earlier, we said, well, what about the workman's comp? What about, all that stuff is HR.
Yeah.
It's all HR stuff. And here, and she just, it rolls right off because she's been doing it so long. But if you were to bring somebody new in, I think you'd want somebody with some HR education.
Oh, down here under experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, we don't want to lose Sheila. Now, I expect her to be great and
Well,
can't
let's say, yeah.
and be here for, okay.
Knowledge and
Especially human resource administration, yeah, so there's.
but with the preferred associate degree in business administration.
We do have,
Well, it's HR though. HR is its own.
Well, we
Well,
have
experience,
that,
yeah.
knowledge and exposure.
Knowledge and
human
exposure to human resource
administration.
administration.
I don't see that here.
It's under
Under
experience.
experience, the last,
Yeah,
the
exposure,
last
that sounds like that.
sentence.
Radiation.
Okay,
Oh, maybe I just have the wrong page.
so,
But see, it only says knowledge, well, that'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, next one, let's go.
next one is, Roberta's position, we kind of added the purchasing clerk in there to have her getting more involved with the RFQ, RFP issuance and, vendor lists and getting approved vendors and that sort of thing. Making sure we're doing our bidding properly.
There's those 2 years of paying, which.
And
any
last-
other questions on that?
No, I'll leave it at
Okay,
that. Jill.
then let's go to the city clerk administrative assistant.
Well, that seems like a very short list of objectives, it's kind of what she does. Maintains the records of the city and acts as the clerk of the city commission. Reports directly to the city manager.
Yeah.
Performs functions of administrative assistant to the city manager. Do you really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the city clerk, I mean,
That's how it's been done for you.
well, I know, we've gone back and forth, but there was an administrative assistant, and then there wasn't, and then there was, it's,
That, also,
the work of the city clerk is enough on its own.
she also does all of our public records requests,
Right.
so all of that, and that's not included in there, so you, administer, all the public records requests.
And she deals with all of our crap. All of our paperwork and all that stuff, which is a job in itself, thank you, Karen.
So, you know, she serves as, you know, she does serve as clerk to the commission. Cause she takes care of a lot of the issues that we have, or any of the processing and things that we have, so.
She also clerks the other boards.
Right, yeah.
And it has that in there, as well as other boards. This position keeps the minutes of the city commission as well as other boards, but she doesn't just keep our minutes, she
She has
does,
the agenda, it's, you know,
Yeah.
all that, and,
So,
someone's packet. So we might want to put that in there too, or something, I want to change something. Maybe.
when you go down to the minimum education experience, 2 years experience in either a law firm or similar type organization that requires complete and accurate records and recordings. I think I'm not sure that we want to limit ourselves. And then
Or
again,
similar type organization.
you know, similar type organization, I mean,
I mean, we probably like someone that has, you know, city government experience.
yeah.
We might want to mention that in there. Yeah, I don't know about putting a law firm. It's, that you're right, that it's a little limiting.
I think that's very limiting. I
I
don't
mean, it
think,
says they're similar type, but I mean,
well,
can we just 2 years experience in a, you know, a city clerk position or city clerk or similar, you know, equivalent, something like that, I don't know.
Working with records retention, I mean, you know, there's several things that we could add to this to make it truly what it is. So, you know, 2 years experience working with records retention and, you know,
I could say experience
Paper
in either municipality, government agency, law firm, or similar type of organization.
I like that.
Requires a complete background.
That's what we need, Charles, come on, good job.
that works.
We have to organize, annual Christmas party.
And
Also, I think-
Put the Christmas tree together.
I think, when you state, just from my own experience, bachelor's degree in accounting or business, that's a BA, but a BS is more in tune to law, and bachelor's in science degree is more in tune to, legal studies and all of that, because that's how I learned, my accurate records keeping and recordings. I had to work, at a law firm for my accreditations.
Well, Bachelor of Science is definitely totally different than Bachelor of Arts.
That's what I'm saying, so it's like a BA is in accounting and business, but a BS is.
Okay, we just put bachelor's degree.
That's-
I think a bachelor's degree in accounting or business, so like business administration, you could get a BA in business administration.
I don't think it should be just in accounting or business, I
Right.
think if she has, or he has,
Yeah,
bachelor's in science degree, should be
This is
equivalent.
more technical.
yeah, either
Would
need
be
to
more
take out
equivalent.
those two or add
Or add bachelor's in science,
your
because
bachelor's in.
to me, I earned my bachelor's in science degree, and I learned all about law, legal studies, being paralegal, in the courtrooms, and the democracy of how everything works.
Okay, but
Which one's?
I don't know that the BS is going to override a BA.
No, I don't think so,
So, yes, I mean-
I'm just saying that,
you can have a Bachelor of Science degree in microbiology or
The
a
bachelor,
variety.
Yeah, and that's not gonna give you.
a bachelor's degree in accounting or accounting business or associated, you know, associated field. That's, we don't have to say,
Which type?
right, I don't think we have to say, yeah.
I just
bachelor's
think we
degree.
would say bachelor's degree, and
that's what I'm
then,
saying.
and then when they
Say
apply,
bachelor's degree.
Okay,
Because accounting,
so,
whatever. bachelor's degree.
I think a bachelor's degree in.
I agree that bachelor's science is better, but not pay more money.
Okay, so then the last thing we have is we have an organizational chart.
Yes,
Um,
I think it needs work. It needs to be bigger.
Yeah.
It needs to.
I can read it fine.
Well, you can read it, but there's no names or anything on it.
Yeah, well, I think that
Just breaks them out into separate sheets. I mean, this is fine for, I guess if you wanna put it up front, but then actually break it down to where you can put names in there.
make all the pictures.
Well, Mayor, I have one request.
Yes.
I wrote this today to the city manager, and I guess this also for our clerk. It is very difficult to read these charts when you have the colored backgrounds. If we could just have a box and have the information in it, and I certainly agree with Commissioner White.
Yeah, just, you can have that as a cover and then break them out. You
What,
this
this
is 5 or 6 pages, but.
Well, this is very small, but having the colored blocks makes it almost totally illegible.
Why knock out the PC hole?
Magnifying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we need, for discussion tonight?
Well,
Yeah, what happened to the?
I apologize for that. She, said she didn't have it on our calendar, even though we wrote her and asked her for the documents for this day, meeting and time, so.
That's okay, she showed up here one time and others of us didn't have it on our calendar, so that's happened before, so.
so,
Those things happen.
well, we weren't aware that we were gonna have to schedule another workshop. But, so it seems to me like a minimum next week.
Well,
I'm not next week, I'm not,
Put it
really
down.
Talk about it next week.
I was
we
saying,
can talk about it.
at our meeting next week.
Yeah.
We can
Schedule out.
reschedule. I wasn't suggesting we do it.
No.
Next week.
But I'm not.
But I'm gonna say we just should set the date and
We can- Okay, with that, this workshop is over at 6:15. Thank you all for your time, at least we did get this accomplished.
Actually, about the wasn't here.
Yep, because we would not have been able to get all this done.
Thank you, Dale.